Yeah, I just started it, but I guess it would
Okay.
be.
So, oh, it's live on YouTube also.
So if I take this away, then
Oh, it's live on YouTube also. Oh yeah. Uh, I'm gonna post on my Facebook before I start blabbing. To join us. There. All right. What's up?
awesome.
I'm just gonna hop back to our Skype box and pretend no one's watching me. It's always easier that way. Ugh. How you doing, my friend?
Yeah, doing awesome. And you?
Oh man. And I do this every time someone asks me how am I doing. It's just like such a non-computational process for me now anymore. It's like I can't even remove myself enough when I'm fully in the zone to be like, how am I doing? It makes my computer, my bio computer, shut down. But there's no me here in the head right now. There's just a human machine, which is there, as I like to call it. And I call it that specific. There's very negative connotations people have with the word machine. And I'm trying to remove the negative connotations and being by machine. I simply mean that I'm functioning completely automatically. I say things and I don't know how I'm saying them. I don't know what I'm saying. I look at you. I don't know what I'm looking at. I sit here. I don't know why I'm sitting here, what I'm doing, but I've been told for some reason that I'm doing this live stream. And I felt called to doing that. And I've set myself up for that. But really, the entirety of myself is an unconscious process. I'm not conscious of myself. I'm only conscious of whatever is in front of me, and I don't know what it is that is looking at whatever is in front of me. And I'm sure you're familiar with that state by now.
Yes. Especially, I can agree with how our language, especially when we're confronted with it, seems to want to bring out the software within us.
Yeah,
Just as you said, like in the question, how are you doing? That's basically asking you to answer from an I that has something to say.
exactly. It's a sort of it's a very Pavlovian thing, with the dog, Pavlov's dog. You train it to have a certain response to a stimuli. So the dog, whenever you bring the biscuit out in that experiment, will have the stimuli where it's salivating. So all of us with the language are just like that. The language comes and we hear a certain question. Immediately what we do is create the sensation of a me, which is in the brain. And that's even one reason I changed my name is because my old name, Justin, even the name Justin implies something which is just inside. So it's a double whammy where whenever someone says, hey, Justin, immediately my brain's like, yep, dog here wagging for you. And it feels pretty, at this point in my whatever you want to call it, it feels pretty miserable to me to have that sensation anymore than I have to. So I'm all the time setting up new sorts of situations where I don't have to create this sensation as much as I used to. And that involves living in a pretty high point of intensity, especially with people I'm talking to online and stuff. I found whenever I sort of dialed down the level at which I'm communicating people with, that I also dial myself down. So I have to kind of challenge myself to be completely real with everybody and be willing to be hated by them, be willing to be perceived in any way that they choose to perceive me on an unconscious level if I'm going to have my full self experience right now. Otherwise, uh, the image I sell people, if I sell people a certain image of myself, that's the level I'm going to have to live at. If I say, if I try to present myself in one way, then I'm going to have to live at that level. And eventually there's just going to be something in me which rejects that level. That's what I've learned about myself. No matter how long I try to maintain a certain image, at some point there's some life in me which is going to reject that image I've created and really destroy it. And then it's going to go out there and destroy the images others have created. And there's no me in control of that process.
Yeah.
I don't see my own glow when it's there, you know? I don't see it. I'm going to plug my laptop in just to make sure we're
Yeah, sure thing.
not going to glitch out more than we have to. So, I don't know if we have anyone watching or whatever, but what did you want? Is there anything you want to talk about?
Just on what you just now said, I find an interesting tangent comes up for me. I've noticed, especially concerning when you allow yourself to be fully yourself and to speak whatever it is that wants to be spoken, you realize that after a certain period of time, when you're especially having a conversation with friends on the same topic or people that one knows, especially person to person, there comes a certain stage where they will admit that they're tired. And you can see that it's exhausting their mind, and immediately there's a reaction that let's just stop this and go back to what we're used to. And I find it really interesting because there's also always the opportunity for one to give up to that excuse and to just go on with things as used to. So that's an interesting fact that I noticed the friction within myself of that intensity being allowed to be shared, and at the same time the triggers that are come from the outside that bring back the me, giving into the narrative that is wanting to be giving into the narrative that is like upholding the structure of normality, basically, whatever that is with whatever person that is.
And like I said, the reason I call us human machines is because everything that's happening is really functions like a machine would function. You have this output, right, when you're in the state of self, and you're living at a very high level of intensity. It's almost a drawback function comes from the people around you, where they kick back against you and they're like, whoa, dial it down. And or there'll be people around you that want you to step back into your old role. And so I think one of the biggest challenges we're going to face, people who have this start naturally occurring within them, is all of the people we've grown up with, all of the roles that we've grown up with people being familiar with us as. And they really don't know how to conceptualize what's happening to you when this starts happening to you, no more than you do of yourself, you know. And I know in my case, like, I live with my father. He's going through cancer treatment, whatever. I'm with him. So all the time I'm having to bump up against these old roles that are being put on me, right? I live around my family right now, and it's been like a really intense confrontation of having to live in this state, but having to constantly throw off these old roles. And there's a temptation always. The temptation is always, okay, for the sake of my comfort, for the sake of this person's comfort, let's step back and step back. And you even can't control having to step back sometimes, because you're going to have to step back. And what you're going to learn from that is that stepping back isn't going to do it for you. You're going to try to step back, and you're going to try to stay at that lower level just for everyone's sake. And trust me, man, there's going to be something in you that throws that off too. It's more powerful than any of these things, unfortunately, for all of our egos and all of these things. The life that is living inside these bodies has no concern whatsoever for anyone's comfort. Life is a very uncomfortable process, and it will continue to be uncomfortable until we've reached a balance that we need to reach with the environment, which is just how it is.
Yes, totally resonate with that. I feel like going through this entire process feels like one is becoming uncomfortable with comfort. And you can feel that within the
Yeah.
being, and something is responding to that process and slowly no longer accepting the lies of comfort and just allowing it, the being, to express finally, even though whatever is expressed might be uncomfortable.
Yeah. Are you picking me up okay, Raven? Because mine says poor network.
Yes, you seem fine at the moment. No cutoffs, nothing.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Yeah, so I think that's an excellent way of putting it. Becoming uncomfortable with comfort. And what the comfort comes from is we have all these habitual modes of being. So in my case, for instance, it's very habitually comforting to me to like smoke pot all day and eat food all day and do nothing. And like that has been a big mode of habitual comfort for me growing up. And I'll regress to that sometimes. Like, all right, like it takes a lot out of me playing the role I'm playing with people all the time. Like it's a very intense head to head sort of thing I'm doing. And then the temptation always comes back up. Okay, let's not do anything today. Let's lie in bed and watch movies. And so I'll allow myself that too. But the thing becomes that comfort, like you said, becomes very uncomfortable to us when we start opening up into this new place of being. And discomfort actually becomes our doorway into it, is what I've noticed. The more that I embrace discomfort, it's like a direct doorway into this state of being alive. And comfort, what we call comfort, is always in the terms of the relative old modes that we've been functioning within. It's what's familiar to us. So whatever is familiar to me is what's comfortable for me. Whatever is unfamiliar to me is what's uncomfortable. So therefore, discomfort is always a doorway into the new. It's always a doorway into the place of being alive. And what's comfortable to me is always a doorway back into limbo, back into the place of being like this little phantom me in my head. And I can go back and forth if I'd like to, and I probably will for my whole life in like different places, you know? That is like, it's almost like whatever's there to being that we are, it's almost like it itself is not quite sure whether it wants to be or not be. And this is something I really make a point of showing in my book that I'm writing, which is called Elephant Tusk, which is coming soon enough. But there's this indecision in us that keeps going into full life, in me anyways, and that's all I know, it keeps going into full life and then pulling back and creating an ego. And the ego is sort of like this comfortable little home for it to hide away from life in. And so I'm a very out of control process. There's no controlling me anymore. Like whatever I do is what I'm doing. And it's a happening in itself. It's like weather. If I retract, I understand that that's bad weather or so forth. And if I come alive and am like fully in the zone, then I understand that that's like sunny weather, but I don't try to put one or the other on me. The more you try to get rid of the clouds, the more the clouds stay there. No, like that's one thing I've learned. The more you try to demand that you need to be awake right now, if you demand that you need to be awake, you'll fall asleep. And if you demand that you shouldn't sleep, then you're also going to be asleep. The demand creates that circuit almost. And the demand to be anything other than what we are. And the fact of the matter is that we are already what we are. So all that needs to be done is to drop the effort of getting anywhere else.
Yeah, indeed. What I found interesting at this juncture where I am, and this is where I'm interested to see what you have to say. When I'm speaking with others, at the same time, I am aware that fundamentally what started this whole process is the giving in of control at certain stages. Like the ability to face that I have no control over anything, and that I'm also, that every piece of knowledge I have is an illusion. Yet at the same time, I know that this process has begun before I even was conscious of it in some way or shape and form. Yet, through the seeking that I did in the past years or whatever, one is always seeking this very state, or one is always seeking this very thing without knowing what it is what you seek. I mean, even the search is like blocking you from seeing it. But nonetheless, within the search, at some point you get the opportunity to not grasp, but to peek at the unknown. Like, I don't know, after reading like your text, a question that came to my mind, which totally made hell break loose, was, how can I forget myself? And I went into the question with like, just like a child would. I just let my mind swallow it up and like not try to find an answer, but just to feel the question and to really be honest about what it means. And I just realized my mind was hitting a wall, like it was hitting a wall of impossibility. And by hitting that wall of impossibility, something just was swallowed up into a void where I can say a big host of panic ensued within myself, where I could, on one level I was calm, and on another level I could just see all the different screams of different forms of myself which were shouting out, trying to find a foothold again. So what I'm wondering is, when I'm sharing this with others, or whenever this comes up, I'm aware that it is not something one can do, but it feels like that is also not the right advice to sometimes to give. Like, I feel there's a truth in a sense that one can willingly look at the unknown, and it might not be what you wish to see, but the seeing of that, the seeing of the unknown helps the process go along, that is burning off whatever has been thought to be known, it seems.
Yeah, this is a really like complicated area I'm working with all the time with people, because if you read my writings, I'm frequently saying, you know, stop looking, stop searching. There's nothing you can do to bring this about. And it's a very paradoxical thing, because, of course, they wouldn't be there if they already weren't looking to bring it about in some way. And but the problem is this, that all I can really do is point out where I am now. In order for me to even conceive these earlier stages, I have to regress to those earlier stages. So I have to play the role of where I am in that moment, or else I'm lying. So I can try to remember the point where it was a great effort for me to find something. But in order to do that, I would have to split again. And there's a few things I want to talk about, because it's a really good point you made, definitely. First of all, when we talk about looking for the unknown, the only instrument we have to look for the unknown is with what we know already.
Yeah.
So as soon as we look, we're trying to find something that's not known. We're starting with a presupposition of something which we already know, and some concept of what the unknown is. But how can we know what the unknown is? There's no way to know the unknown. And it's almost silly for us to try to get to the unknown, because once we're in the state, there's nobody there that is there, or known or unknown. We're just here. And it's a very silly thing, because we get here every time, at least my experience is, whenever I get back to the full state of being here, there's no point in getting there, because there's nobody there to experience it. There's nobody there to drink in the rewards that we're looking for. So it's a very paradoxical thing, and I'm a very maddening human being because, like, I'm just pointing out the utter absurdity of everything we do and everything we think we know. I'm offering no belief system, I'm offering no technique, and I'm really offering nothing at all times. I'm saying nothing, and I'm letting out self-aware bullshit because I've been utterly confronted with the fact in my life that, like you said, all of our knowledge is an illusion. There is no knowing. There's no knowledge. All of it is neurological misfires created throughout human history. It's all these neural circuits. And what is there to know? All I know is that I'm this human organism here. I'm just this body. And that's where I break from a lot of other mysticism. I say there is no universal self. If there's a God, that's not a God that I can know through my mind. And if there's anything else, I don't know. All I know is that I'm this body, but even this body doesn't have a concept that's alive. It just is here and it's talking to you. So, I don't, it's really as simple as that. So the thing is, when people are all the time saying, well, of course there is a point to the path and stuff, right? There's a point to all these techniques, a point to all these efforts, and that's kind of what you're saying. And what I'm saying is that if you're already on the path, that didn't even come about by your volition. We all find ourselves on the path without knowing why we're on the path. We all come for this knowledge, not knowing what we're looking for. So I would never tell people, oh, there's a point to the path, because if they're on the path, there's nothing they can do to get off of it. It's like it's a vacuum cleaner sucking you into itself. And that's been my experience. And trust me, like, I made no valiant effort to find the truth. What happened is I saw the truth a little bit. I saw that there wasn't a me outside of this neurological thing. And then for a good period of 3 years, I fought that tooth and nail. I thought that with all I could. And I kept holding on until I couldn't hold on. And then that just disappeared. And a whole process came into being that I had no control over. And life became a completely involuntary process. So if I'm alive, there's no way for me to control what state I'm in. And if I'm going to die, there's no way for me to prevent that. And then that fact is my freedom, I guess. If you even want to call that, I'm free from even the need to be free from the need not to be trapped. If I'm trapped, it's okay. I've realized that really my only message is no control. And that's because I've lost all control over myself. But only in losing that control have I found anything of what I'm looking for, which was just my own being. And that's a bunch of ramblings. I'm going to let you riff on that and sip my little energy drink over here. Not that I need more. So what about the essay? We could talk about that a bit if you want.
The essay. The essay was interesting because I read it so many times. I read it like in a span of half an hour. I read it like, I don't know, 5 or 6 times or something like that. And the interesting thing about the essay was it is built up logically. So your mind is reading the essay and then you get to the end of it and there's no point. And then you start reading it again and your mind is like, there's a point somewhere here, I need to get it. And you realize there's no point. And it just kept happening again. I just kept reading it again and again and again. And then the question, after that I stopped and the question came like, how can I forget myself? And I just let that question sit for a while and just something started sucking me in. Like, yes, something started sucking me in.
And what it is that, I mean, at least according to the argument of my essay, which is available on my Facebook, and everyone will see I've been spamming it with every post, is that it's like this quote you quote from the essay is that we are these hyper intelligent human organisms, right? But we're identified with some gap in our perception
Yes.
where we're constantly, the gap is founded on a split from our own being. And so when you're reading the essay is talking about something which is superordinate to any of your modes of knowledge, right? And somehow I've twisted language. I didn't write that essay by my own volition. It came out. And somehow I've twisted language. So I'm talking about something which is superordinate to our perception. I'm talking about something which is before even our sense of perception. So if you're reading it through a lens of perception, the lens of perception is going to be grasping and grasping, but it already knows it's found out, right? Because it's mirrored in the essay. I'm talking exactly about how this mode of perception works, what we call our mind.
Yeah.
And eventually, at some point, if the essay works right, and that's why I really want to talk to you, is because it seemed like it worked right. is what's going to happen is that this sense of perception, what I call a time lag in the essay, is going to shut down. And when that shuts down, it might be a very overwhelming process, as you attested to. But that's really what we're looking for, because when you have this overwhelming thing happen where all of your, it's like really like a computer system, right? The computer is given something that it can't put into its equation. It's like a rough, chunky ball is thrown into its neat, tidy computing process, and it can't compute it, it can't crunch it, it can't chew it, and it doesn't have anything to do but shut down. And when it shuts down, all that's left is this open space of emptiness, which we're all looking for. If we're watching this, if you're reading any of my bullshit, if you're reading any of Raven's stuff, chances are on some level you're looking for this open space. And the only way to get to this open space is to somehow jam the process of looking for something, because it's already, what's looking for something is what you're looking for. The body is looking for some way to understand itself, but the instrument that it's used all throughout history, which we call the mind, is what's preventing it from finding what it's looking for, which is its own being. And in the essay, the main argument of the essay is that all human perception is built up on two different senses of time. We have a mental sense of time and then a sensory sense of time. And the body sense of time can only ever see what's happening now, right? The body is only ever looking at now because it's located in the now, but then the mental sense of time is dissociated from the body sense of time. And between this split in our perception, where one part of us is looking at one rate and the senses are looking at another rate, all of our personal identity has been built. So it's like you said, it sounds logical, and to some extent it is logical, but there's no way to understand the sort of logic I'm using, because it's talking about something which is literally the basis of our experience in any given moment.
Yes. And it's also testament to the fact that even though when the mind is no longer in control, since we are using language just to speak with each other, we use language when we write or when whatever wants to be written is written. And I find it shows that the intelligence of the mind as thought is the true limitation, since it's basically just functions according to memory. And once the thought is given up, the mind becomes freed to serve the organism. And you can see how the organism is capable of using every little piece of the thought world, but in its own fashion, without needing to spend a thought to think about it. So I find that's an interesting thing to see. It's not like you're losing your mind entirely. You're losing the part of your mind that has identified itself as you and has created a whole narrative around what life is meant to be, who you are, and whatever one knows.
Yeah. When you need to use the mind comes up again, you know? That's what I found. When the mind needs to be used in some way, my body will recreate that sensation. It will recreate the sense of a me, the ego, whatever. And then it will take it apart again when it needs it. The fundamental fact is what I am is such a complex, intelligent process that I have no way of steering or controlling myself. It's something which is always superordinate to any of my ability to understand myself. And so there's this thing, when you become quote unquote enlightened, awakened, whatever, what happens is that you become a process, a natural process, which you aren't steering, and that's very overwhelming for us if we still have a separate me. It's extremely overwhelming because all of a sudden you become just like the wind or the weather or anything. You're happening. I mean, when I'm talking to people, I have no control over what I'm saying, no control over anything. It's almost as if something else is speaking, but it's me. It's just I have no way of understanding myself or relating to myself. And I know I'm repeating myself, but when we use language, the problem with language isn't so much the language itself. I've said this a lot online. I said the problem with language is when it becomes a mental concept, right? It is, and I think what's so interesting is when you get into the state is really just realizing how little you actually need thinking to do anything. I think that really would surprise us based on our historical conditioning, is you realize you don't need thinking to talk. You don't need thinking to do anything. You don't need thinking to get anything done, really. The body does all that on its own. And it's an illusion. The conscious mind, the sense that the conscious mind is somehow in charge of us doing things properly. I mean, in my experience, it's just not true. For 8 years, I tried to write a book and couldn't do it until this process shut down. And then I wrote a whole book, wrote an album, wrote an essay, wrote another. I've done so much more in the time since this thinking process shut down than I ever did before. And it's because I'm not judging myself. You know, I'm not saying like, oh, should I do this or shouldn't I do this? I'm just doing it and let the pieces fall where they may, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, exactly. I just think it's really shocking to us to realize we've been told this whole time that that thinking somehow helps us do things. And my experience has been the complete opposite, that I've done everything more efficiently once thinking is out of the way. And when thinking is out of the way, my body just gets so much more energy. It's like all the energy that my body is using to create a narrative, to create a me, to create a mind, when that goes away, it goes all into whatever the body is doing already. It's just a very shocking thing for us to realize that there really is even no conscious mind which is in charge of anything. It's a creation of a concept. You have a concept that you're conscious. You have a concept that there's a me who is somehow driving your body into mind. As soon as the concept goes, that me also goes. In every second, we have a concept of how the body's operating, and that concept will completely condition our body to work a certain way. And when you realize that, it's like a whole new game, because a lot of things that were closed before become open up to you.
Yeah. I love what you said at the end. It just brings up one sentence. We strive as human beings to make the subconscious conscious, when in fact what is necessary is to make the conscious subconscious.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Is that the conscious is just, as I argue in my essay, the conscious is part of the unconscious that's split off from it. And it's become identified with this intellectual process, this mental narrative. All of your problems will disappear as soon as that conscious mind, me, disappears, because it creates all of your problems. It has a logical formulation of something that you need to do based on some cultural programming or understanding. So it says you need to get a job or you need to do this or that, and it will give you that. And then all of your sensitive problems will come from trying to force yourself to do something which your body fundamentally does not want to do. That's been what I found. You have some idea of what you need to do, and your body doesn't want to do that. Your body wants to be a fucking monkey. It wants to go about just doing what's doing. But the concept that we need to do something other than what we're doing already, other than what's natural, creates all of our suffering, creates all our problems. As soon as you erase the concept of what you need to be doing, what more problems are there? You will do whatever comes naturally to you. And like you said, people are going to butt back against that because people are programmed in a certain way. And my experience has been if you act naturally, people are going to act automatically to try to put you back in a lower state. It's not that people are evil or anything. It's just that people, they don't understand what they're doing. They think that they need to tame you. It's because they're afraid in themselves of the same energy which they see in you. It's the same exact thing. So it's just, we're going to be in this sort of push and pull for a while until more beings are awake, we're going to be in this push and pull where people are waking up and then people are coming and putting them up on crosses or fucking destroying them or whatever. Or like I got thrown in jail for a bit. It's another story, but there's this back and forth thing. And it's just like people perceive me in all sorts of ways. People even perceive me as dangerous. And it's just because they don't know how to factor in somebody who isn't controlling themselves, who isn't dying themselves down. So we're going to see how it plays out. This is fun, man.
I think humanity needs to see it play out, though, because one thing that came to mind in a conversation was the realization that our entire structure of society, everything is basically a manifestation of the mind. If you look at social constructs, if you look at even the direction science is going to, forwards with, if you look at the aging, the coming of artificial intelligence into our lives and wish to be able to upload the mind into a digital, immortal body. All of this is basically not the doing of any one individual human being as an individuality, but it's the doing of the mind itself trying to give birth to itself in an immortal form, it seems to me. And basically this friction seems to be the friction necessary for us as humanity to become aware of that which is controlling our lives and controlling every other aspect of our shared space, basically. And how it is so out of control that it is birthing itself into an abstract, immortal machinery, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a deep point, man. Well, the thing is, people have asked me about this before, like the whole idea, can you transfer your consciousness to a machine? The thing is that what they're going to bump up against me, I'm going to say, what consciousness? What is it that's trying to transfer itself? I wouldn't be worried about this actually happening because there is no consciousness there. It's a creation of the concepts that we have about ourselves. If you try to transfer that to a machine, all you're transferring is unstable information.
Yes.
It may appear stable through a concept, but it's not stable. It's just a neurological creation. And but I do think you make a really, really good point. That's deep, where you say that the purpose of this for us as a species could be a sort of mirroring thing, where we're creating all these scenarios which are showing us that we're being controlled by these concepts already. You see something that's trying to transfer itself to an immortality is really our own neurosis of trying to make ourselves immortal or whatever. How can we make ourselves immortal? There's no way. only if we accept that we're mortal will we even have the experience of being alive. Otherwise, we're going to live a very dull and sort of null existence. That's been my experience, and that's all I have to talk from. And that's where I also split from a lot of other mystical people. Is that in my experience, I've experienced this death or whatever. I had the experience of my body literally shutting down and starting up again. And so I know that on the other end, there's nothing there. and and so from knowing that, I've been freed from all these concepts of why would I want to be immortal? Why would I want to make myself something other than what I am? It all comes from the birth of a concept of needing to be something other than what we are. So I wouldn't actually worry about the mind actually taking over the world, because the mind's already taken over the world since the dawn of time, and there's really nothing to be afraid of, because we create our own adversary. The adversary that we're creating at bottom is also something that we're creating. So as soon as you take that floor out, there's no more adversary. There's no more mind which is fighting us. As soon as you stop believing that's there, it drops out. And a quote I've shared from my book before is to fight with a phantom is to affirm that it's there. So if you're fighting with this phantom, you're in each moment you're saying, you're there, phantom, you're there, mind. As soon as you stop fighting with the ego, it's no longer there. But as long as you're struggling against it, it's going to keep creating itself and keep creating itself and keep creating itself. It's like a hologram. You have to acknowledge that it's there, that's a problem, for it to generate itself. If you just forget that it's even there, it's not a problem. But it's like you said, how can you forget it? There's nothing you can do to forget it. So my whole message is just a complete doomsday for this mind thing, because I'm literally saying there's nothing you can do whatsoever. There's nothing you can do to get rid of it. But and all of your tries, please keep trying to get rid of it, because eventually you're going to get to a point where you realize you can do nothing and get rid of it. And someone who is born as a very intellectual person, I've spent my whole life with all these concepts, so of constantly fighting myself with all this. And anything I've gotten in freedom has only come from being more enslaved than anybody and more crazy than anybody, because I spent all my time alone reading books and books and books, trying to figure something out. In the end, it was a very disastrous thing for me, because I realized there's nothing I could do to free myself from anything. And only in that realization have I found some sort of solace, but it's not even solace. I'm just here. I'm just alive. Like the machine broke. I know I'm a difficult person to have a conversation with. It's like I was just in a comment thread where I was really giving shit to one of them, and he said, "Oh, like I'm gonna come on and play Rorschach Mirror with everyone all day. Aren't I fun to talk to?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude. Obviously, you are having fun with it. That's why you're saying you're talking to me." It's like, people don't know heads or tails what to make of me any more than I do myself, because I'm completely disorienting, and I'm aware of that on some level. But that's the natural role that's been given to me.
That also seems to be the natural role of reality, is to be completely disoriented. There is no orientation to be found in all of this. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I have like a little poem. I had a little poem up on my wall for years that said, no epistemological certainty, no stable reference points. Transition is not transition between transitions. Oh no, transition is not a point between two stable islands. It's transition between transitions. So it's just like, what I'm trying all the time to do is remove this ground from under people. And there's a point in the essay, right, which I tell to everyone watching, go on my Facebook, it's there, uh, where it says, "Don't be alarmed if the floor falls out from under you," right?
Yeah.
So don't be alarmed if the floor falls out from under you. It's only when the floor falls out from under you that you'll realize that the real nature of reality is that you can't know what it is. There's no reference point. For all throughout history, we've created this huge body of knowledge of language, and we've duped ourselves into thinking that it has ever been for us to relate to reality. In reality, it's always been a defense against the world. We're creating all these systems of knowledge because we're trying to defend against the fact that we're in this great mystery. We don't know what it is around us, and we're completely vulnerable. we don't want to face the fact that we're naked and we don't even have a loincloth on. We're really out here in this mystery called reality, and everything we're doing is trying to defend against that fact. That's why we live in these little huts of cardboard and have all these clothes and all of it. If we really see it for what it is, we'll see that we're trying to defend against the basic fact, which is that we don't know what the fuck is going on. And it's funny that I'm even talking at all, because all I'm saying is we don't know what's going on. And I say, why are you listening to me? Why are people listening to me? I'm a crazy guy calling himself Zebra, saying all the time that everything I'm saying is bullshit and you can't understand me. And yet people are all the time still listening to me and still engaging with me as if I'm saying something at all. And I'm saying all the time, I'm not saying anything. So why are you listening to me? There's nothing to be gathered from here. And yet over time, there's still more and more people listening to me. I don't know why. If they're listening to me, it's maybe because on some level they want to recognize this fact, but they're also tiptoeing back and forth. And that's okay. I did that for years. So I'll be here the whole time while all you guys are tiptoeing back and forth too. I have no choice about that. Life, like I said, is an involuntary physical process. I did not choose to be born. Despite what anyone says, oh, you choose before being incarnated. Well, if that's true, you guys know more than I do. Yeah.
I'm not aware of making a voluntary decision, to be honest. So,
yeah.
Oh, man.
So I'm curious about your path, Raven, and I talk a lot about me because it's all I have to talk about. But tell me a little bit about your path, or whatever at this point.
Let's path. About this path. I'm quite certain I lost the path I was walking on, but I can relate to the path I thought I was walking on.
Well, of course, that's what I mean by path.
My mind is just blank at the moment, to be honest.
Yeah. That's good.
One thing that I find interesting is I find even though the mind cannot comprehend the incomprehensible, it can be led towards it, it seems, because myself, I had experiences of the timeless when I was a little kid, and I remember one very vividly where I was, like I said, I was traveling with my mom to Iran, and we were like, I understood by taking the plane that I'm really far off from home. And one night everyone was sleeping like in the same room. I was sleeping on the floor on a little mat, and I remember everyone was asleep, but I was still awake, and I was just listening to like the sounds of the cars in the city, like still driving at night. And I had just a question suddenly in my mind, like, do I even know where I am? And I thought to, and it became clear in the next thought that I just realized if I just got out of this house and I stepped out 2 streets away from where I'm spending the night, I'm lost. I don't know where I am. I don't know where this place is. I don't know if I would ever be able to find back home. And in that realization, I realized that I don't know where I am. But I must say, at that age, it was super uncomfortable. It was like the most uncomfortable feeling you can be confronted with. And I remember it didn't last long, and I somehow got myself out of it and just paid attention to my mom in the room, paid attention to my aunts in the room, paid attention, oh, everyone is sleeping, I'm here, I'm safe, I'm okay. And the same thing happened like with your essay when I just asked the question, how can I forget myself? I must say I've known this question for such a long time. I've read about it before, or heard someone talk about it or mention it, that you could use this as a tool. But I think most of the time we just stop superficially at looking at such questions, and we don't allow the mind to go to the very edge of where it realizes it cannot comprehend it. And it seems though that the crashing the mind into that wall of incomprehension seems to be valuable, because whenever in my life moments of timelessness occurred, it was due to some reason my mind trying to get a grip on something that was incomprehensible. I know I had one other spontaneous moment, for example, where I was walking the dog, and I walked past these hedges, and suddenly I looked at the hedge, and I looked at one of its leaves, and the question just came up, and I thought, where does the leaf start, and where does the leaf start and end, and where does the hedge start and end? And I don't know what that question did, but suddenly I couldn't, everything I was seeing, was like, I saw there was no beginning and end to anything specifically. And I could just feel like my mind going insane. It just felt like it was panicking. It was losing all foothold. But whenever this occurred, I could see how one drifts back into whatever is comfortable, and one shuts down the experience in a certain sense. And so this has been, yeah, that has basically been my path. I can say that the 2 experiences I had when I was young was what brought me on the path of always being in touch with something spiritual or religious, and seeking in those areas, because it did have whatever those experiences are, they seem to be the very essence of religion or spirituality, even though I cannot say it's anything spiritual or religious, if that makes sense. But automatically that seems to have drawn me on a path where I went after the spiritual knowledge and trying to find a way to find myself and all that bullshit. And even up to 3 years ago, I joined what do you call it, basically a spiritual group where they had their master, the enlightened master, and he taught us meditation or whatever. No. Oh yeah. But it was a good lesson, because I realized that behind my search for truth, I was also searching for a person of authority to guide me, you know? And
yes,
especially just manifesting that situation, I finally had the person who knows. I finally was where I wanted to be, and I saw that there were so many lies that guy was telling, like in so many subtle ways, and every time the intelligence within me knew that something is off, like something is not right. And whatever lie I perceived, I just shrugged it under a rug for a while, until a certain moment it just hit me, and I was like, this is all just a joke. Like, I just got what I was looking for, and that was a person of authority to guide me, but that doesn't mean it will guide me to the truth. It will take me even further away from it, it seems. And that ended the search, because I realized I'm not gonna ever find anyone that's gonna guide me. Like, there's no one out there who
Mm.
can be the authority over you. You just have to give up all illusion of any authority, whether external or internal, and automatically what is left is what was looked for, what is searched for.
Well, your perception of external authority is identical to your internal authority, you know?
Yeah.
And that's something that's really crashing to realize, is when you realize that your perception of the societal structure outside of you, which is somehow governing your life, your perception of a government, whatever, all that, your perception of a guru who can free you, all this is only your own internal authority, which is lauding over you, which is some concept. Even what we call government, it's just monkeys in robes that we've given some sort of title. If you choose to get into a police car, then is it really the police who are the authority over you? Or are you choosing to get in? You know, it's an unwillingness to face a certain level of discomfort. It's an unwillingness to face a certain level of having to rebel against old ways and to put yourself in a position of intense living, which is the authority over you, nobody outside of you. And so exactly, I'm very familiar with what you're saying. Is familiar to me too. And that's one reason whenever I'm talking online, I'm constantly saying, don't make me into a guru. Just because I'm talking about enlightenment, liberation, whatever, all the time, don't make me into a guru, because there's no way for me to give this to you. And I'll never set myself up in that way, because I legitimately, or something in me legitimately does want to help other people come to this for themselves. But it's not something in my own control. As soon as it becomes something in my control, I stop being able to do it. And so I think that's a really important point. As soon as you have an external authority on what the truth is, what it really is that your mind is the authority on trying to find some answer for you. And
Yeah.
so it's using this external person as a sort of role or puppet for it to operate through. And in my opinion, all the gurus are on some level con men. Every single one of them. Because if they're really awake, then they must know that when you awake, you realize that there's no authority. And so if they know that, then why are they sitting up there like an authority? Either they're really just really good tricksters. If they're really good tricksters, then maybe they are doing a good job. I don't know. But a lot of them, it seems to me, like are standing to gain something out of this. They're getting some sort of image, some sort of flow of revenue. They're getting some sort of, you know, basically smoke up their ass in exchange for this. So as someone who sees through the bullshit, they stand at a dangerous place with me, because I know what I'm talking about. And when I say no, I don't mean in an intellectual way. On an instantaneous, instinctual way, I know what I'm saying, completely outside of consciousness. And knowing you don't know how it is, you know. I don't know how I'm saying anything. I don't know what any of it means, but I'm saying it. So these people, I really wonder about them. I've talked to people on my Facebook who have been with gurus for 40 years, and then they get really mad at me when I say there's no need for a guru. And I say, if there's no need for a guru, how come you've been at the guru for 40 years? You know, like, how have you been there for, why have you been there for that long? Like, why are you lashing out at me? It's because something in you knows what I'm saying is true. You've been there that long, and they haven't been able to give you something which is here available in every moment. Like, what does that say? I think it says a lot. And we're coming to a point where authorities are not going to be able to hold anything for us. The governmental structures we raised the species with are becoming maladaptive. Every single governmental structure. And I tell you, we're going to see something going on where all the governmental structures are going to be trying to hold their shape against this dawning realization that it's not helping us anymore. Just like our mind is trying to hold its shape against the dawning realization we're having that it's not helping us anymore. And all the people who love being controlled by the government because it gives them some excuse to live at a lower level of intensity are going to be fighting this realization in themselves also. And I do believe over here in America anyways, we're seeing this right now. You see people all the time making excuses for this joke that's going on because they need something to hold on to say, yeah, there's mommy or daddy out there taking care of me. And it's the same thing we're going through inside. We want this daddy figure mind to take care of our basic knowledge we have that there is nothing that's going to defend us against reality and nothing that's going to defend us against the world. And the governmental structure is exactly the same. It's a stand-in for daddy. It's a stand-in for the mommy, daddy figure, the parent who's there and is going to somehow protect you when the day comes to an end. Well, I tell you, the more you hold on to that illusion, the ruder awakening we're in for. And so it's better to get it over with now and realize that this whole joke of a charade is over. It's over and it's been over. The daddy and mommy projection isn't going to hold because we've been exposed to so much information throughout history that something in the human body is recognizing. It's recognizing and saying, that was a lie. It's throwing off the lie. So there is no governmental structure that's going to work well for us because I tell you, in our basic nature, our nature is to throw off anything which tries to control us. And the more you try to control the nature which is saying, don't control me, the more violent everything gets. So in a way, I'm completely reversing all of the basic presuppositions of human morality, which is I'm saying the more you try to control your dark side, the more you try to get your dark side out of the way, the more you try to weed the bad out of humanity, the more exaggerated it gets and the more problematic it gets. If you were to simply accept your basic nature, accept your instincts, accept all of your selfishness, then there would be no disharmony with yourself. All of our disharmony with ourselves comes out of the need to appear selfless when we know, in fact, that we are selfish. And you'll see this in all of our ways of relating to each other. People all the time are needing to appear one way. And as soon as they need to appear selfless, then they act their most selfishly. If you don't need to appear selfless, then you will act selflessly. You'll act in ways to help others, and you won't understand why. If you need to appear like you're selfless, tripping on my words, then as I hope all of you are, and then you're going to act at your most selfish because on some level you know that there's a selfish structure of pleasure-seeking, pain-avoiding behavior in yourself. You're not going to be able to get out of that. Only that's been my experience anyways. I can only talk from my experience. The more I've tried to get out of my desires, out of my personal faux pas and fixes and habits, the stronger and stronger they've gotten until there's a split inside where one part of you is in complete denial of the other part of you, trying to destroy it. You can't destroy what's natural to you. It's only when you accept it that it will change. If you accept that no matter what you say, you're not going to say the right thing. No matter what you do, you're not going to do the right thing. When you accept all that, trust me, it gets a lot easier. And then suddenly you'll do something and you'll surprise yourself. Like my essay, I wrote that completely without trying to write anything. It just came out one night. Completely shocked me because I was like, wow, there's something here. There's really something here. I read this and something in me recognizes what's being said. And when it recognizes it, the state shifts. I read that essay and I immediately am back here. So I didn't try to make that, though. And I've not tried to do it any time that someone comes to me and they say, reading something the other night, something clicked and suddenly something's different. I didn't try to do that. I didn't even do it. It just happened. But it's because I wasn't trying to do anything. As soon as I have the idea that I need to do something for some purpose that's going to go through my selfish software and be completely corrupted by my ego. I guarantee you that. And yeah, I know I'm blathering, rambling in circles, but I'm gonna let you riff off that, my friend.
No, it's good. That was a good riff. It brings up to mind also one. I have I have one friend in particular who's like very much into studying the flow and the state of flow. And the cool thing is he's a musician, does awesome music as well. But there's always this intellectual search to understand how to get better into the flow. And I find what's interesting about the flow is like as artists, we experience the capacity of our true state, especially due to moments when we either are playing an instrument or we're just suddenly we write, like you say, like you wrote your essay. Myself, when I write, I only write when something feels like writing, and then it just comes out within an instant and it's on paper. I don't think about it. I might correct it later afterwards just to get out the mistakes or typing errors, but I just let myself type. And I think most people who do art, they get addicted to that flow state but don't realize that they could be in their own flow at all times if they didn't conceptualize it all the time and try to make it fit into a box and learn how to control it. Because I found one interesting example that came to my mind was like if you have a child and you give a child a guitar and he has no concept of there's a wrong way to play, he will grab that guitar and he will start climpering on it, he will start experimenting with it, and eventually even maybe a song might come out. But if you have
Did you say climpering?
Yeah, climpering. Do you say that?
That word?
I don't know.
It sounds cool.
I think it's borrowed from German. Ja, klimpern. Der klimpert auf sein Zeug. Yeah, it's German.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, though. I couldn't resist myself.
And where were they? Yes, and if you have someone else, if you take someone who's like a grown-up person and you hand him a guitar, they will not even dare to like pluck a few notes. They'll just be stuck at that thing and like, I don't know how to do this. So you teach them like, I don't know, you teach them a scale or something and they get comfortable playing. And in that playing, sometimes they let go. Like they become so comfortable that they're comfortable enough to let go. And in that letting go without even realizing it, that's when they produce something that surprises them. And I think as humanity, we have a certain obsession. We dip into these flow states, and we get the idea that there's a way I could bring this about more often. When in fact, the flow states only happen due to a complete letting go of any need to control. For whatever reason, I don't know, maybe you just got so lost in playing the guitar that you stopped thinking and you just let your fingers do their work and they play out a beautiful melody and you come out of it and you think, I did that. But in fact, no one was there to do it. Something just happened.
That's really important, because it's really what you're saying is identical to the issue I'm talking about with staying in a quote-unquote awakened state of being. It's identical. The problem is as soon as you get into the state of flow, that your mind has a memory of it. It forms a concept of it. And so it says, oh, I was there during this experience. And like you said, it wasn't. It was out of the way. But as soon as it forms that concept, you start idolizing yourself. You go, wow, I was really great in that moment. And then you become miserable about yourself in any other moment because you're like, oh, I'm not shining like I was then. Well, you were only shining because you got out of your own way and weren't expecting to do anything. I have that experience all the time. And really, everything I do is try to make an art of keeping myself in a inspired flow state. And the only way I found to do that is constantly shitting on and destroying whatever concepts I form of myself. So if there's a concept I form of myself, I'm very sure quickly to dismantle it. And I found the public forum online is very useful for that, because if you can learn to talk about yourself in a way where you don't care how you appear, and you're shooting on yourself in the same sentence that you're making a claim, then you'll learn very quickly to stay free of this memory thing that happens. It's really an art, because the mind's so good at forming this memory, being like, oh, I was in this flow state, and look at what I did. Look at what I did when I was there. But you have to learn that the mind is not even in charge of the body. The mind's a concept that the body's forming for whatever reason. So it's not even in charge to begin with. The mind's not in charge of your actions. For instance, when we move our hands around, we walk around, whatever, we don't know how we do this. It just, when a baby starts walking, it doesn't know how it starts walking. It doesn't get a concept, oh, I'm going to walk now, and then stand up with the mind that it's, at the wheel of the ship going, all right, it's time to walk. There's nothing like that. It's a lie. It's the same way we digest food. We don't know how we digest food. So all of our creative activities are the same way. You go play guitar, you improvise. You're like, wow, that came out really good. It's going to be a problem for you as soon as you realize it came out good, because then you're going to be pitting yourself against yourself. So there's a really big, I think there's an art to staying in this state of wu-wei, non-action, not doing without the sense of doing it. And it's an art that as soon as you know how you're doing the art, it becomes a problem again. So for me to say anything about it would be very sinful, but all the time I'm saying things about it. It gets my own control, so whatever. The thing is that for me, like when I write something, that's a big thing. Like the whole book I have coming out, Elephant Tusk, very long book. I'm very proud of it. I really feel like it's my masterpiece. But as soon as I go to edit it, and I'm like, wow, I really like how this came out, then nothing comes out, and it gets really congested, and I end up just, fucking things up, and I have to be like, all right, just put it back to how it was. And but it's definitely a trial and error. Everything's trial and error, really. It's just that there's no control over the trial and error. It's all automatic, whether it appears to be or not. There's one thing to take away from anything I'm saying. It's what I'm saying over and over again. You are an automatic process. There's nobody controlling your body. The sensation that there's someone controlling your body is a very ingrained historical illusion, and it is identical to what we call the ego. As I said earlier today on Facebook, I said that very few people know what the ego is, because the ego is literally the limits and extents of everything we've known thus far. Everything we know is ego. Ego is this completely mental-based process. The moment you come to know what yourself is the only moment you'll know what ego is, because it's the totality of what you're not. Yeah. And until then, you form all these concepts about ego, and every concept is the ego defining itself. The ego is not our enemy. It just is. It's just a process. If you make it into your enemy, it will be your enemy. And maybe it's good that it's your enemy for a while. And then at some point, you have to go. I think I saw you post the other day, Raven. You said when you don't care if the ego's there or not, then it tends to leave of its own accord, right?
Yeah.
That's basically what I was saying earlier. As soon as you stop caring if the ego is there, you stop fighting it, you really give up, right? It's this giving up process where you're like, I can't do it. It's just the effort of trying to get this fucking thing to go away is too much for me. I can't do it. When you get to that point and you're like, I can't fucking do it. No matter what I do, I can't do it. It just stays. At that point, suddenly you're freed. It's really this just joke we play on ourselves, because we're trying to get ourselves into this corner where we can't exert any more effort to do something which was really an impossible task to begin with. It's an impossible task we've set before ourselves to try to force ourselves into this place of flow. And the more you try to force yourself, the more congested, the more constipated you'll get. And I always call it constipation, because the more you push, the more it's stuck in there. And when you stop pushing, all of a sudden it'll come out of its own accord, and then you're free. And then at some point when you're free, something in you is going to go, fuck, I'm free. And then the process will start over again. And this is going to keep happening. And this is, I guess, like I said, the apocalyptic quality of what I'm saying is there's release to control. It's all just happening. If you form the illusion of yourself again, who cares? It's going to form and it's going to fall apart all on its own, just like it did last time and the time before. It's just a cycle that keeps on going, like I said in that essay. It's a cycle that keeps building and building. Just let it happen. You are part of it. The more you try to fight against the process, the more constipated it gets. So in any given day, I might wake up and form a mind and get this concept of me, but I know by this point not to fight that concept. Not to let myself go, oh fuck, I was so awake yesterday. I was so in the flow yesterday. What happened? Everyone's going to know I'm a fraud because I was in this awake place yesterday, and now I'm going to go on and appear so split against myself and appear so confused. Whatever. There's nothing to lose, there's nothing to lose. As soon as you have the sensation that there's something to lose, it gets the upper hand on you before. So I think something that's been really freeing for me is you have to be okay with having an ego. You have to be okay with even looking like you've regressed. You have to be okay with all these things. When you're okay with it, then it's no longer a problem. When you have the idea that there's anything for you to lose, then you have something to win. When there's nothing to lose and nothing to win, then you've won. And what can I prescribe to anybody? That's the problem with the whole guruship. They say there's something to prescribe. The best thing I found is to just mirror, and to mirror the process that's going on in someone else until something clicks together, or on-clicks, as you put it. So like I said, if anyone's watching this, I don't know. If they are, read the essay I put up because it's the best mirror I've yet found. And if you're like Raven, here something will unclick, and then you'll just be like, here. I know what you talked for a while because I've been talking. We bounce off each other, my friend. It's the creative process. One person says something, another person goes, oh yeah, and then it goes back and forth and back and forth.
Eternal jam session.
Yeah, man. That's a cool way of putting it.
Yeah, and
you're a musician, right? Yeah, I heard your music, man. It's really good.
Ah, thank you. Yeah, I sometimes play music. And I can also attest to his essay, so for anyone listening, definitely go read that. It might give you a hell of a ride, and a ride through hell, both. But it's a fun ride. It's worth it.
Yeah, it's called All Our Experience is an Upward Spiral of Time, Our Two Simultaneous Time Experiences. And it's on Zeebshaver.
It's on your blog, actually, as well, right?
Mm-hmm. And the blog only has 2 posts, but that and another one. But I'll probably be putting more stuff up there. I'm really trying to get my book out next. I do have a novella out and I have that essay out. After the book, I don't even know what, because the book's really a consolidation of everything I've done. And it's interesting because the essay itself, the theory of the essay, came out of me writing the book. And it came out of me, something that was trying to figure itself out in the book. And then it was really all really natural. I'm just a channel, I'm just working with this stuff. I don't really know what I'm working with or how it comes about. And that's the really interesting thing. When I stopped understanding what I'm doing, it seems to become a lot more interesting. And all the intellectual academics are stuck in a trap where they have to know what they're doing before they do it. And then they end up just regurgitating the same thing over and over again.
I
But
think
I have no idea what I'm doing.
fundamentally, deep down, we all know that we don't know what we're doing, and I think it's kind of funny to see, like, deep down we know this, and we've been waiting all our lives just to have another person admit that they don't know what the fuck they're doing, and once they do, you find that you're the most natural person with that person. It's bizarre. We're just all waiting to admit to each other that we have no clue what the fuck we're doing. That just seems to be life to
Yeah.
me. And once we
And
do,
that's one. No,
and
go ahead. Go ahead.
no, once we do, life just starts happening, without a fucking clue how it's happening.
Just like it always was.
Yes.
And that's part of the reason for my title, Elephant Tusk, for my book, is that you have the symbol of the elephant that's in the corner of the room, right? It's the thing that nobody's saying, that everybody knows is there. And so the elephant tusk is this image of piercing through that silence, and somebody's coming out and saying and showing, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, and I never did. And I'm not trying, it's just happening. I'm breaking this silence that's been all throughout history of everybody putting on a front. Everybody's always putting on a front saying, I know what I'm doing, here's my mission, now let's go do this. I don't know what I'm doing, and there's no way for me to know, and I have no mission. And that kind of breaks the mold. And people who come into contact with this, like you said, I can see like you're in a state of being here in no mind and all that. I can see that. And like when you come into contact with this, it's going to shatter your illusion also eventually. And then you'll be free. But freedom isn't what you think it is, of course. It's just the ability to be without a need to be being one thing or another. And when you're free from that, you're just alive. And then, of course, like I said, my experience, the spiral, some concept's going to jump in at some point, and you're going to be like, oh, I'm being this. Now how do I stay here? And it's going to go around and around, and that's all right, too. It's a fun talk. Love you, brother.
Same. Feels really good as well. Yeah, I think usually I'm the one talking so much about this stuff with people around me that it's really nice just to share the session and have someone else talk this. Have someone else say nothing.
Yeah. It's interesting too, because I said that earlier, in a comment thread, I was like, even my eye is very annoyed by my persistence on saying nothing at all. Like my ego, when it comes up, it hates everything I do. And I think that's a symbol of what I'm doing is effective. Because it makes me wonder a lot about people who are talking about the illusion of an ego, who have egos absolutely fawning over them or absolutely attracted to them in this way where it's all agreeable. How can you have someone who's out of their ego who's agreeable to their ego? Everything I do is completely disagreeable to my ego. When my ego comes around, it goes, you said that? That's so unacceptable of you. How could you do that to our image? Blah, blah, blah. Whenever it comes up, which is very rare nowadays, but when it does, it detests what I do when it's not at the controls. And if it doesn't detest it, then it admires it, it idolizes it, say, wow, that's very brave. Wow, that's very courageous. I'm trying to show that all of this is just stories. So what the ego wants there to be some sensible, logical reason to why we're doing something, because it wants to make the body into a very habitual sort of process, which is doing the same thing over and over again. And so the ego is identical to the cultural program which wants you to take on a certain schedule, do the same thing every day, and be stuck in this sort of loop. And I don't know if there's anybody at the head of the cultural program. That's a whole conspiracy thing, you know. I don't know if there's anybody at the head of it, but if there is, they've done a very good job at putting us natural processes into loops and causing us to be on this grid. And so there's definitely going to be things popping out of these loops that we call Buddhas or whatever, and they're really just people who have gone absolutely crazy with being in a loop and who have lost that pattern. And so in the course of one day, I'll be 10 billion things at this point. I'll do one thing in the morning, do another thing 5 minutes later. And it's because this loop in my body has broken to the point. It was to a point, I think I told you, Raven, where this awakening thing is really more intense that's been portrayed a lot. Like, there is a period where I would physically appear much different by afternoon than I would in the morning. I'd look really skinny at one point, really big at another, and I don't know how to explain that to anybody. It's just that literally what I seem to be is some sort of strange biological pattern, which then comes into a mind pattern. Even the biology is a pattern. And when you break the mind pattern, the biological pattern also comes unhinged. But what you find out through this is that the human machine is so much more capable of surviving than we give it credit for. I've lived long periods of times with very little food and stuff at this point. I'm fine right now because I'm with my pops. But the point is that the human machine is so capable of surviving. And for some reason, we've been lied to. And we've been told that you need all these things or else you're not going to survive. Well, in the grand scheme of things, you're not going to survive anyways. So you might as well experiment a little while you're here. You might as well experiment a little and find out what's true and what's false. Because all we have is the concept of what the body can handle or not. And this is a big problem, as I was talking with you the other day about in our medical industry, is that we have all these concepts of how the body's operating, what it can and can't handle. And the problem is, because the body is also a habitual machine, every concept you give it about its own functioning is going to condition it. So you give the body a certain concept and you say it can't handle this and it can't handle this. And the whole thing makes people very frail. People become very frail, and they get the idea that if they go out and touch the wind the wrong way, then they're going to just break down in shambles and not be able to handle it. It's very strange for me to see, because I've been in shambles for a long time now and I've been doing fine. And the thing is, people are afraid of being in shambles when that's where real life is. And they've created all these defense mechanisms up against life. And we don't realize that the more we try to take care of the body, the more we try to treat it like it's something that needs to be taken care of in this very regimented way, the more we're making it into a very frail being. We're, on some level, creating our own evolution in every moment, right? So we're conditioning our body every moment. Whatever we do conditions our body completely. And you'd be better off to lose the concept that you need to do anything to control the body. Because the body has a natural intelligence in it, which is going to completely take care of itself if you just let it.
Yeah. Yes, it resonates a lot. I don't know, I think I've shared this with you as well, but I used to be like vegetarian for, I don't know, 5 years? Last 5 years? I was.
Mm-hmm.
And I had all sorts of diseases, so like at the end of it, I had pericarditis, I had air leaking from my lungs into my chest, and I had a prostate problem. And one day I just realized, it came to me that my ancestors, basically, they always ate meat. I'm half Icelandic, so if I just go back to my ancestry, the only thing they've survived on for the past thousands of years has been sheep and fish. And with that thought, I just allowed myself to try some meat again, and like animal fats. And what's interesting, I'm not even claiming that the meat healed me or whatever, or I don't know what fixed me, but I think what fixed me the most was giving up the urge to restrict myself in a way where where I thought I knew what was good for me, because by going according to my knowledge and everything I'd learned, all of the things I had should not have existed with the diet I had. Like if I would have bought everything a vegetarian tells me and says, yeah, you will cancel out this disease, you will not get heart disease, well, I had heart disease, I had prostate problems at 27, which doesn't make sense, and all of that was in a way a lie. I could have continued, of course, trying to be stubborn and not giving a change a try, but it seemed that the very letting go of controlling what I need to eat and what I have to eat and what is good for me, what is bad for me, by letting go of that need, my body started healing, and I don't give much thought about what I can eat and what I can't eat, and I feel great, and I can see my body is even. I looked like a skeleton before, and I'm fine now. So there doesn't seem to be a specific. Once you let go of all specificities, no, that's not the right word. Once you let go of everything, all the knowledge, specific knowledge that you have about what's good for you, what's bad for you, and you just let your normal functioning do the job for you, it just seems nature already knows what it needs and knows what it can handle and knows what is beneficial for it, even though it doesn't make any sense maybe according to any type of knowledge that has been so far gathered.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm saying. I had a very similar experience to what you're talking about with heartburn, and like I had really intense heartburn all the time, like super gassy problems, like farting all day, burping all the time, very, very gassy. And like the more I would take like Tums and Rolaids and all these things to try to get it, the worse it would get, till I got to a point really where this thing started happening to me, where I just stopped doing things like that, and I just don't have any more heartburn or anything. And a very similar thing is I had a panic disorder for like 3 years, and I was on tons of benzodiazepines and stuff like that. And it got to a point where I couldn't fight the panic anymore, and I destroyed my whole really stability in life by trying to create a stability and by trying to put my body in one state or another. So I've lived what I'm talking about. And I got to a point where I was getting off of those benzos, and I was just like, I'm either going to have a long controlled tapering process with this, or I'm just going to ride it out. And I'm like, all right, I'm just going to ride it out. Stop taking them. Fought through it, just was there. And it turned out fine. The body's so much more capable of these things than we've given it credit for. And it seems to be that whatever concept we form in our brain of how we're functioning immediately creates that sort of functioning for ourselves. And that's something that is very difficult to understand, that I'm trying to make clear. As soon as I have the idea that I have some heartburn issue that I need to clear of, it's a self-perpetuating issue. We've made the issue into something reified, as we say. We've made it into something you can touch. And we say, okay, we have this issue, and that health problem becomes part of our identity. So we say, oh, this health issue is part of my identity. And every way I think about myself, and you'll see this with people who have a lot of health issues, it becomes part of the way they relate to themselves altogether. Yeah. So whenever they're talking about themselves, they say, oh, I had so and so on, and go down their list of issues, you know? What I'm saying, I know is very controversial, but that seems to be my place and things. So don't take health advice from me, people, but consider what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is you have this feedback loop that you have this certain idea about how your health is or what health issue you have. And this will sustain the problem because the body is one intelligent machine. Mind and body is one thing. And we've been taught to separate the two. So every idea we have about how the body's functioning immediately conditions it. And this is a sort of scary thing to open for people because they think, oh, what if I have the wrong idea about myself? Is it going to kill me? Well, no, probably not, because thinking is very weak compared to the body, but it can cause certain issues, as I know through my experience. One of them being these panic attacks I had all the time. And also the gas problems I had. It was this feedback loop. It worked the same as the ego works, where the more you believe that it's there, the longer it stays there. I've experienced for myself that as soon as you have the body thinking that it's working differently, it will start working differently. If you aren't concerned about being in a state of panic, then panic won't be a problem for you. I've experienced even that if you're having a panic attack and you stop thinking about the panic attack, immediately your heart rate will slow down. It's this one intelligent feedback loop that's there that we call the mind. And everything we put into it creates it. It's really like a Chinese finger trap, like I keep calling it to people. The more you try to get out of it, the more stuck you get.
Yeah.
But the key to realizing that you're in a finger trap is to lean into the trap, lean into it and test its limits. Because if you're afraid of a trap and you say, oh no, what am I going to do when I get in that trap? Then you're treating yourself like you're very frail. But if you lean into a trap and say, I can handle it, I can handle the trap, and if I don't handle it, then oh well. Go into things with that attitude and see how it is. Because everything in the mind is very timid. It wants to be like, oh, I can make a wrong step or a right step. And if I make the wrong step, I'm going to fall down a flight of stairs and not get up again. Well, that's a pretty self-fulfilling prophecy you will make for yourself. And it's better instead to lean into the trap and say, if I fall, I'll probably get up again because I've gotten up again all these other times. And to say, go into things with the attitude that you can handle the trap. You can handle getting caught. You can handle any problem that's faced with you. Because this really is the true state of the intelligence in the body. The body can handle any situation which is thrown its way if you let it just perform on its own. It's really that intelligent. But as soon as you treat it like it might make a wrong step and then get shattered to pieces, well, I have news for you. You're going to become very frail that way. You're going to become timid that way. And I don't think it's in mankind to be timid forever. I really don't. I think something's going to rise up and it's the real spirit that's there and it's going to go, I'm not timid. I've made it fucking 8 billion years and I'm still alive. And it's going to go throw off this timidity. This has been my experience anyways. And so, like I said, don't take health advice from someone who is insane. but do consider what I'm saying, which is I've experienced for myself. I've had many health problems which have disappeared as soon as I've stopped thinking about them, and as soon as I start thinking about them, they'll come back again. So what does that say about the nature of body? It's a very interesting thing. And I think that really is controversial to some people because people want to have the idea that there's nothing they can do to get out of whatever circumstance they're in. Whatever health issue they've been getting, there's no way to get out of it. It's the hand they've been dealt. Well, it wouldn't be such a problem for them if some part of them didn't know on some level that they could get out, or else they would just accept it. So if they really believed that they couldn't get out, it wouldn't be a problem for them. But some part of them knows that they can get out, and that's why it's an issue for them, because they're going, why is this happening to me? Because they know some part of them can get out. And so I'm saying, trust that part. Push yourself. You only have so long to live anyways. And it's better just to fucking experiment and take risk while you're here, or else you're gonna fall into a loop where you feel miserable. It's just human nature. Like you get caught in thing and you become tame again. And as soon as you're tamed, the spirit goes down to rest and it doesn't come up again until something comes to break that pattern. You need something which is gonna make you feel like you're alive. I had an ex-girlfriend who was also crazy in her own way. And she would say, I only feel alive when I'm plowing into traffic, like I might get into a car accident, you know? Otherwise, I don't feel alive. And she was working all day. She was working 24-hour shifts, you know? She was working 24-hour shifts. I'm serious, at this live-in nurse place. And so she would say, I only feel alive when I'm plowing into traffic like this. When I'd go like, why are you driving like a crazy lady? And she'd say, that's only when I feel alive. The reason you only feel alive at that point is because you respect yourself when you're pushing yourself. You respect yourself when you feel like you can handle what's going on. You will stop having any respect for yourself as soon as you bend your head down, take what's given to you, and say, this is the way I have to live because I was told to live that way. And really, this is why I see us a state of mankind right now. Is something in us has grown to love our slavery, is grown to love putting our head down. And the reason it loves to do that is because it's comfort. You must become, as Raven says, uncomfortable with comfort. Throw off the comfort. Unless the comfort is a home to you. It was never a home to me.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It brings to mind a perfect example also if you look at certain cases who have terminal cancer issues. You know, these stories about patients who get told like, you have 3 months to live, and the moment they accept that fact, but they, instead of going for treatment, they just say, okay, I just got 3 months to live, I'm gonna go live my life, and I'm gonna live the life that I haven't dared to live until now. And you see some of them jump off the hamster wheel and they go maybe to their home country and they get a little house, or they go on vacation and they do all the stuff that they longed to do all their life but never did. And then they're living like 10 years longer or 20 years longer. After 20 years, like someone says, hey, you should have dropped dead like 20 years ago. What happened? It's like, I don't know. I just lived my life. And I think that is it. That is basically it. Something.
It's funny you mentioned that too, because that actually happened with my dad when I was like 5 years old. They said you have like 2 months to live. He had like stage 4 lymphoma or whatever, and he just kind of went into it like, well, I'm not gonna die. Like he just went into that really believing that, and they have no idea why he recovered. So it's really like all I'm trying to say is the human body is a mystery,
Yeah.
and anybody that tells you that the human body is understood and known is gonna fool you, and it's for their own ego, their own intellectual ego, that they've created that illusion. None of these bodies know how they're functioning, and you need to just release these constraints on yourself. Be free of the constraints. You don't know what's going to make you healthy or not healthy. Just let the body take control. Let it be free. Be free of these ideas, or else everything becomes very regimented. You have to take vitamin B, C, Z, D, the fucking F plus just to go out and get a fucking drink with your buddies, you know, like just to get out of the house. And you have to take medications up to wazoo. Everything becomes mechanical in the bad way, where it's put in fucking oil here and get a broop broop at the other end. And who likes to live that way? I don't know one person who I see happy living that way, or who I see at least alive. Sorry to cut you off, man. Yeah, I was just talking forever. You go.
No, it was good. Yeah, only thing that pops up to mind is like we usually go about life thinking, I have to take care of my body, when in fact, just let the body take care of you. And when I say let the body take care of you, I mean it like in the more dramatic sense of taking care of something. Like, Let the body take care of you.
Yeah, oh, yeah, like take care.
Yeah.
Well, if that's in the stars for you, it's like there's no escaping. That's why I said it's a lie that anyone wants the truth. Nobody wants the truth. There's no such thing as an ego that wants the truth. The ego, when it comes up against the truth, is going to fight it and fight it and fight it and fight it because the truth is completely perpendicular and different from what the ego wants. It's the opposite. The ego wants to sustain all of its illusions that it's in control, that it's somehow directing the flow of life in the body, that's somehow in control. If you just let the body naturally function, it will take care of you. Like it will do that. That's what's going to happen, and there's going to be nothing you can do to stop it. If you're sitting here watching this video, chances are it's coming for you too. Good luck. Oh man. And then there's always this silence you feel like after we're going. This silence is you. It's your own being, and we always return to it. But there's not a silence that you can look at. As soon as the mind separates from the silence, you can't look at it. So when the mystics talk about silence, all they mean is when your body is in a state of functioning harmoniously, there's no control, there's no more friction inside. The friction creates the mental noise. It's really like I said, like a machine. If there's a knot in the machine, which we'll call belief system, whatever, some idea about how the machine is functioning, then there starts being friction and noise, and then we call that noise thought. When you don't have any belief system or need to know, then there's no more noise. If there is thinking going on, it's in a very minuscule, tangential way where you're not even aware of it, really. It's just happening. Like you said, not all of the mind goes, but enough of it where you don't have to be fixated on it anymore, and it becomes natural also. It's part of this overall functioning. We're kind of like weird androids. I don't know. It still weirds me out sometimes because like when you start seeing the way this is very strange. It's like waking up in this world full of these androidic weird monkey things, machines, and they're trapped in their programs and their dreams. It's a very strange existence, but compared to what? I don't know.
Yeah, that is true. Mm. Yeah, one thing that just pops in now. Um, I don't know if this is helpful for other people, especially since uh, I'll just relate it since maybe it helps someone. When you mentioned also earlier your own experience with um, when one is expressing the truth of oneself or just being oneself, the situations that arise sometimes bring about a reaction of the me that is judging myself basically in being what it is. And I find that's like the most aspect of my the most recurring aspect of the thoughts that assail the being basically. But I experienced that myself. I've noticed it's not like it's so bizarre. Like whenever I try to talk about this, when I'm being myself, I'm not trying to be myself, and in some sense, I'm no longer capable of not being myself. But while being myself, there arises moments where judgments arise towards myself for being whatever way I am at the moment. And that's one thing that I keep experiencing even now. Like, I see moments, there's this little voice inside that comes and says like, why are you being like this? Or why did you have to say that in such a way? Or why did you have to be so harsh to that person, or all kinds of variations on that thought, basically. The same thought in different forms, I guess. It's always some form of self-judgment most of the time.
Yeah, and this is what one way I really think in which our idea of an enlightened person keeps us from experiencing whatever this is. Because the idea of an enlightened person has been completely muddled up with the idea of a morally pure person. And there's no such thing as a morally pure person because there's no way to be alive without making people uncomfortable. And the fact is, the more you overcome your own illusions, the more you're going to make people uncomfortable. And the more you make people uncomfortable, the more fodder you're going to give this judgmental superego, if you want to call it that, or mind, which is going to come in and go, how could you do that? That's so uncompassionate of you. That's so unkind of you to be that real with somebody else about where you see their illusions. But this is something I've really had to struggle with a lot, Raven, in my own processes, because all the time I'm getting opportunities with people where I could just come out and say, oh, I see where your bullshit is, because I do. Or I could just pull back a bit and pretend like I agree with them and make it go for the long game. But what does that really do for either of us? What it does is just sustain this illusion. And I've had to get to a point where, especially more recently, I've come back to a point where it's like, all right, if I see your bullshit, I'm going to call out your bullshit and not leave any barrier between us. The fact is, nobody's going to come into the state that they're looking for without a lot of discomfort, without a lot of fears being activated, without a lot of projections coming up. And that's the mistake all these guru types make, is they try to give reassurances to these people. And they try to say, oh, you'll be all right. You'll get through. The fact is that the ego is not going to get through this. It's not going to survive. The conscious I cannot get through this process that way. And the more we're awake, the more we wake up, the more we're going to run into situations where we make people uncomfortable. It's not this other thing where we have this idea of someone who is an incarnation of cosmic love, and just their very mere step towards another person makes them feel like they're being hugged by the universe. And just looking at them makes them feel completely comforted. No, it's very, very, very much the opposite way. The more you wake up, the more your very existence is going to make other people very uncomfortable, because it's going to show them where they're creating ideas which aren't in line with the way reality is. And you are going to have no control over that. It's going to happen. And every time it happens, your mind's going to have the opportunity to come back in and be like, oh, you're not behaving like a Buddha. You're not behaving like this or that. That's why I say get rid of all the ideas of Buddhahood. I think I should stop using the word enlightenment, because it's a fucking dirty word, and it's very sinful for me to use the word enlightenment, because it creates this conflict into being where one state is the pure state, another state's impure state. All there is you're trying to get to your natural state of functioning. There's nothing morally right or wrong about it. It's just the way you are already, and the way that is being clogged up by all these filtrating belief systems. So the idea that enlightenment is somehow a moral thing that's involved with kindness only and all this bullshit is a complete dishonesty towards ourselves. We need to come to terms with the facts of how our shadows are. The fact that if we're really relaying how we feel, if we were really relaying how we feel, we would make people uncomfortable all the time. All of us, because we're always disagreeing with people around us. We always are, but we cover it over with polite rhetoric. And we say, oh, I see what you're saying. But yada, yada, yada. And it's all bullshit. It's a bullshit socialized way of relating to each other. It's completely bullshit. And if we were really saying how we feel, and we would say, I disagree with you, I see where your point is, and I don't agree at all with it, then something real comes out of that conversation, we'll find. Something more interesting. As soon as you start being worried about triggering each other, what happens is conversation completely dies. There's nothing more to say, and nobody says anything when we're worried about triggering each other. all we say is, "Oh, I see what you're saying. I don't really agree with it, but I'm gonna pat you on the back, and we can go away feeling nice and kind and whatever." And the fact is, if you're not feeling that, it's dishonest. And how kind is it to be dishonest to your fellow beings? I don't know. Not sure it's kind at all. It's kind to an illusion and not kind to a being that is trying to understand itself. If you're in a place where you can help someone understand themselves, you're going to do a disservice to yourself by trying to only be kind. This is something I've learned. I've learned just as much since this happened to me and trying to relate to others, about how to communicate about it. It's been another huge learning process all on its own. And a lot of it is for a while, I was really trying to work around others' perspectives, but I found that wasn't as effective as when I would just all out be like, okay, this is why I think that what you're saying is bullshit. And I think that's almost more of a sign of respect to someone else, at least in my experience, to be like, I really fundamentally disagree with what you're saying right now for these reasons, rather than to pretend you agree with them when you don't. That's just another form of self dishonesty. And I think that's a really good point you've made and brought up. And it's a huge conflict that any of us will come into with this, because the fact of the matter is that we all want to get along with each other, but at the same time, we know that we can't quite get along with each other. And this creates a big conflict in ourselves because we want to get along with those loved ones we have, with our relatives and stuff, but all the time the effort to get along with them is creating a layer of illusion between us and a layer of projections. So there's no easy answer. I think in the long run we're going to see a lot more success come out of honesty than we are out of dishonesty in any form.
Yes. I also want to state, in relation to what you said about morality, I think morality as a concept, whatever the concept is in existence. But once morality is given up as a concept, I feel like what the true being is aligned with whatever morality there is to be aligned with, except there is no trying to be aligned with any sort of morality. It is just the morality of total honesty, which outweighs all other types of morality, no matter how nice the concept seems. And it is also, deep down, it is also what my expression of myself as myself is, what I wish to have expressed at me by another being. What I wish to see in other beings is only what myself is. That means, in a sense, that we only wish to what we truly wish is ever to meet another being and not his ideas. And we should realize that by being honest, even though we have this friction within ourselves, going through this process like I am now, in that process I always realize that no matter what harsh truth I might be saying, in the end I'd rather say what I feel like saying than to hide it away and take away a chance of something truthful and hand a lie to a person, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's like that comes up a lot in relationships and stuff. You want to maintain a certain level of agreeableness between you and your partner, you and your friend, and so on. And so you'll hold yourself back from conflict when conflict arises. And in the long run, it usually plays out better if you allow the conflict to happen and let the pieces fall where they may. Same thing with any of your close relationships. You'll find that if you really stick up for yourself and say, I really feel this way, this is how I really feel, I'm sorry that I disagree with you, and let that sort of headbutting process work out, is going to work out better. If you come in and you die down your truth, you die down what you feel, it's going to lead to more separation between you and those around you.
Yep.
And yeah, so it's like the same idea that the Tao that can be named is not the eternal Tao. It's the same thing with morality. The morality that you have any concept of is a bullshit morality because it's a something that you're doing for your own loss or gain, right? You're doing to try to maintain your certain idea of what something should be, and you're doing that for yourself. So as soon as you have the morality in there that you need to function in a certain way, it's because you want to present yourself to others in a certain way, and that you want others to see you in a certain way. You're not letting others see you as you are and then let the pieces fall where they may. Like I said, they form a certain image of you based on how you are rather than how you're presenting yourself. Would that be so bad, you know? This is the thing we have to overcome in ourselves, because it's very tempting to want others to see you a certain way. And so you tailor all of your expressions and all of your actions in a certain way where they're more likely to see you how you're conceptualizing yourself. And this is really the basis of a lot of human relationships, honestly, is that you see people with a certain concept of the relationship doing everything they can to maintain it when they feel the opposite way. And, you know, the marriage where both people are miserable at 80. And if they had just called the whole thing off 20 years earlier, then they might be outliving the life they want to live. The thing is, there's just some brutal matters of just the way we are that we need to attend to. And the longer we don't attend to them, the more miserable we become. And it's better to let something go if it's going to go when it sees your real face than to try to put on a mask and say, here, love this mask, because it's what you want. And the other person puts on a mask and they say, here's the mask you want to see. It's much more better for you in your state of wholeness to just be like, this is the way I am. Take it as you may. Do what you wish with it. Here's my craziness, and I'm going to wear it on the surface. And if you wear it on the surface for others to see, then you are respecting their freedom to do what they wish. You know? If you try to present yourself with a certain costume and you say, you're already trying to manipulate the outcome that's there. So everything we do, which is what I call control, is in some form trying to do that. We're trying to manipulate others to see ourselves in a certain way. If you were just allow yourself to happen, your words to come out, yourself to blather in your own way, as you're gonna blather because it's your body, not zebras or ravens or whatever, you're gonna find that you suddenly find out who you are again, because who you are is whatever you're doing in that moment is a full expression of that. But as soon as you try to manipulate yourself to a certain idea and manipulate all others, then something starts feeling wrong. You say something's off. And you don't know what it is. Well, of course you do know what it is that you're trying to tailor make your life to be a certain way when there's no way to do that. Like you said, like I've said, you need to become part of life again. Let life be a natural flowing process. Let it change. Let it surprise you. Because there's no guarantees except the ones you manufacture, and there's no guideposts except the ones that you imagine. And where had they gotten you all this time? Where had they gotten me all this time? Absolutely nowhere. Every time I had them, I end up feeling unhappy. And every time I let go of them, I end up feeling very whole and very fulfilled and happy doing whatever I'm doing. Like, you know, you see a dog is happy doing whatever it's doing. We need to ask ourselves, well, what state is it that humanity's in that we don't feel happy doing anything we're doing? And I think this is something that a lot of people who come to me with questions, Raven, they don't see. They say, why am I miserable? Well, the fact is you're miserable because you're working a job you hate. You're doing this thing that you don't want to do all the time. And that's why you've created the spiritual path, because you think if you have a certain answer, then at some point you're going to be able to use that answer to justify to yourself the lifestyle that you're living against your own grain. And that's going to somehow become nice and tidy for you, and you won't have to make any sacrifices. Fact of the matter is that if you're working a job you hate, nothing is you're going to do is going to make you happy except quitting the job. And that's just so we've created all these other systems where we don't have to go against our conditioning, and we don't have to break the status quo. We don't have to step on any toes. fact of the matter is you're not going to get free without breaking the status quo, and you're not going to get free without stepping on some toes. That's just the way nature is, and it's just the way we are. And I have people come to me all the time, man, all the time. Who I look at them, one look up and down, and say, "I know why you're upset. It's because you're doing this thing that you hate doing. It's so obvious." But they need some higher, more profound answer because they really don't want to make any risk. They don't want to get out of that rut. And they want to find some way of keeping the rut and finding the truth too. I tell you, there's no way to do that. I found that out the hard way. Everybody who's going to find it out is going to find it out the hard way because there's something so stubborn in us that wants to go both directions at once. You can't go both directions at once. I was in that loop too. I was at university living the academic lifestyle, all that, all that. I found out that living my truth and living that lifestyle were incompatible. One had to go where the other did. It's not something where you can harmonize the two, If you're living in a loop which is making you miserable, good luck harmonizing that with something which can't be put into any loop, which wants to live freely. You can't. As soon as you live in the loop, you lose the state of being again. And as soon as you're into being, you have to lose that other lifestyle. And you're also going to have to lose certain relationships. And you're also going to have to lose all these things. There's no easy answer. My answer is only to be as honest as I can about what I've really experienced rather than creating more illusions for people. I have lost friends since I've started owning my own feelings and experiences and stuff. I have lost many friends because people don't want to touch the fire that's here or whatever they perceive it to be, the craziness or the psycho wackiness, whatever they need it to be, whatever they need it to be. They don't want to touch that because they'd have to touch something in themselves. So it's become more important to them to distance themselves. That's okay. We're all going to have to make sacrifices to find what we really want to do and be and to live our own potential, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah. Especially also in relation to people dropping out of one's life. I think once you stop fulfilling the expectations that you used to fulfill, it's a natural thing that can take place. If another person can't handle that you're no longer fulfilling those expectations, they might leave, but at least you're not fulfilling someone else's expectations all the time. And even for them, even if they might leave and they might feel uncomfortable about it, I'm sure just being the one person that didn't fulfill the expectation that's always fulfilled by everyone else at least opens a space of reconsidering maybe where they're at. One doesn't know, but that's how I see it, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, expectations are really a stranglehold on us.
Yeah.
I mean, all these expectations and expectations make no one happy unless everyone I've ever met or come into contact with incurs nothing but suffering by the lifestyles they've created where they're constantly expected to perform a certain way. The academic lifestyle is a great example. My ex, all the time, was miserable because she had this expectation schedule on her all the time of all these things you need to do. So you never get any time to do something spontaneous. How can an animal be happy with no room to be spontaneous? So first we have to fess up to the fact that we are animals. And then we have to fess up to the fact that if we have no room to be spontaneous, no room to be a child, we're going to be miserable, man. Miserable really quick. And the only way to get out is going to be to let that loop go. So I've said before, if you have a reputation, your reputation is going to trap you. Destroy your reputation. And you'll find how freeing it is. I do this all the time just as a matter of practice on Facebook. Some image of me starts popping up and I'll go in the opposite direction. It's for two reasons. So that I can be honest with myself and with others who are in some way either depending on me or thinking they depend on me on there, or caught up with me and don't understand why is really probably the more honest answer. And And for the other reason that I need to constantly be destroying my own image of myself, or else I know from my experience I will lose the authenticity and freedom which I have arrived at. There's no point where you'll get to where that becomes an impossibility for you. You need to always trust this thing and let it be a living process, and to let it sort of steer itself, or else it's going to start going back into hiding again. And so be brave. Really be brave and have the courage to be like, if I put that one thing out here that I was always too afraid to say because it would offend everyone, if I say that one thing that I have always been keeping in the back of my mind but really wanting to say, really put that out there and see what happens, then maybe actually that would be the thing that surprises you. I mean, that's been my experience, is when I had this one thing that I really don't want to say because it's going to cause too much commotion. Usually when that's out, I feel free again. I've put it before that we're really like these information conduits. When the information gets built up and it's in you and you're not expressing what wants to be expressed, then you become at conflict with yourself because you have one part trying to go out and another part trying to keep in. Yeah. And that was really my experience with that time lag essay. It was something that I knew I really felt was going to be important for people. And I thought it was the best thing I'd really done yet for what I'm trying to do. And yet I wanted to keep it for some later date, right? For some later date when it would be the perfect time to put it out. And I realized eventually that this was just me hoarding it, and it was my own selfishness to say, fuck it, I'm putting this thing out, not charging for it or anything. I just want it out there, and people are going to have it, and it's out there for them now. And ever since I did that, I felt completely more restored to where I am. It's like there's this thing inside that you just need to let out. Lead by example, you know? That's what the tarot told me on that day. I was like, all right, should I finally put this out? I'm going to ask the tarot. I haven't consulted it for a while. I asked my girlfriend to do a tarot reading, and it said, lead by example. And I was like, all right, putting it out. And as soon as it's out, it's like that whole awakening thing, the physical thing happened to me again, too. It happens over and over again. What you're talking about with the terror of the mind program and stuff, that all happened over again, and it happens to me all the time. It's like a death and rebirth all the time. I'm just used to it at this point. But I had to go lie down. It's like this body shaking, it's shaking all the habits out of it, right? It's really a crazy thing when it happens to you. Your body will literally shake all these loops out of it, all these mental habits, and it's really like a cataclysmic thing for all your programming. And then all of a sudden you just feel completely real and alive and stuff again, and you feel relieved. So nobody's going to get to life except through that gateway of terror. So I find it better probably at this point just not to pretend otherwise. And I think there's too many people who talk about these things like fucking Eckhart Tolle, who give the impression that it's something really smooth and tidy. There's no smooth and tidy way to get to the now. Everything in your body has been erected up against the now. It's against the now and doesn't want to let you be in the now. All these programs, that's all they want to do is hold you back. So there's no neat and tidy way. You have to find something to explode that program. And when it explodes the program, that's when you'll be there. And every awakened person will tell you that in their search, it was a really stormy thing with a lot of conflict and a lot of completely disastrous blowing up things. But then they'll go out and try to act like it's not that way. That's the only way anybody's going to get to their being is through that gate of peril. That's just the fact of the matter. I mean, if you have a different experience, please, tell me, but I doubt it. At some point, you're going to have to go through that dark night, right? Or the peril inside. And only when you go through that shaking and that cataclysmic thing suddenly you'll be released. But you'll realize that what you're released of is you, is the program that you thought was you.
Yes, it's nothing
Heavy
short of.
shit, man.
Yeah, it's nothing. It is. It is super heavy shit. Um, it's uh, it's basically in plain words, it's just experiencing death before actually having to die. And I'm quite certain that the death experience for someone who has lived like their whole lives, I don't know what to say now, living consciously unconscious. I wouldn't say, yeah, for living their whole lives as their self, or as their, not as their true self, but as their thoughts. When death comes, you can see that the fight against death is literally the fight with the terror that death represents as the unknown that they're facing. And you can either choose to postpone it until the end of your life when your body is giving up, or you can, on some level, choose to experience that beforehand, I guess. And the gift of it is that you receive the gift of life, and you haven't wasted an entire life just to die in suffering. I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think when we use the term suffering, a lot of people don't even understand what suffering means. What suffering is a dissociation from yourself, right? And I talk about that in the essay. It's a dissociation where you're split into two people and don't even realize it. You have this mind self, which is split off in a schizophrenic condition from the rest of the body. And we don't realize that a lot of us really exist in a schizophrenic condition, and we call that normality. We have this mind, me, and the body, me, going at different time rates, as I put it in that essay. So we have the mind, me, which is existing in one little world up here, and then the body, me, which is going through daily life, and the mind's off talking about something other than what the senses are experiencing. You'll be talking to your friend, and all of a sudden your mind, me, will go off to what happened yesterday. And so there's two of you there. And suffering is living in that split state. There's this constant wear on our body that we don't realize that comes out of that split state. And yeah, what you're saying is absolutely true. The awakening, I've joked about this before, it's so funny. You look for it the whole time. What it is death. And so you're looking for this thing this whole time, and it's really a joke, because when you get to the end, you have to die. When you get to the end of that path, you're gonna have to die. I went through it, like I said earlier in the video. I went through a literal physical experience of dying. My body shut down and rebooted, and I was not there when that happened. My whole mind program shut down. And then for a whole month, I was in what they call nirvana or whatever, as in the state of harmony and stuff. And then at the end of the month, suddenly something happened where an energy was in my body and it gripped the whole thing. I could feel every cell, could feel every neuron, and suddenly it just, everything's gone. Everything is complete nothingness. But I'm not even there. Body starts up again. All my programs start up again. And suddenly I realized, like, what just happened to me? And it's like, bam. It's like, I just died. Like, I just experienced this. I literally just experienced death. I don't know really what happened or what caused it to happen. But that's the only thing that's going to free you is this experience. It's not even an experience. It's some form of death. I don't know if everyone's going to have to go through what I went through, but you're going to have to die in some way because you're going to have to go through a gate which clears you of all this old programming and old identity. And when you're free of that old identity, only then are you going to be actually able to touch life, to really see what your senses are seeing. Like literally your senses, you probably experienced this, Raven, they clear up a lot, right? You're able to see what's around you a lot more real than it used to be. Even like everything around you is in a lot more detail. If you've taken like low doses of LSD or psilocybin, where everything gets really high definition, that's kind of like what I experience a lot, is my sensors are naturally working at a much higher capacity. So I see everything around me in much higher detail, like higher resolution than I used to. I don't know if you've experienced that, right? When the mind shuts down, all of a sudden your senses are more functional, it seems. Has that been your experience? Or?
Visually, I cannot say that much because I still wear glasses, but my eyes have. I only wear them when I need to, like when I really feel like I need to, and I can see that my eyes are better than they should be though. But in relation to other senses, I find that I cannot even put it on a specific sense, but you do take in a lot more information than you used to from your environment. It's even
Because the
subtle.
filter isn't there.
Yeah, even subtleties when I'm speaking to someone, even subtleties in their question or subtleties in what they say, I hear what they mean to say instead of what they say sometimes, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah, like one example is a mystic I'm really fond of named U.G. Krishnamurti. And I'm fond of him because he was really real about this stuff, whereas a lot of others haven't been. He would say, people would come to him and he says, "You think you're asking this question to me because you want to understand something, but I see that's because you're in pain, right?" You start noticing things like that. You see the reasons people think that they're acting, or the reasons people think that they're asking questions, you'll see flat out that's not that reason. There's something else that's there that's happening. Like a lot of times someone will ask me a question, and like I said, they think they're trying to get an answer out of me, but really what they want is to be free from this pain that they're feeling of being split against themselves. So you have to start trusting rather than what people are presenting themselves to you as what you see going on there, because it's all you have to trust, really, right?
Yeah.
And like I said, we are like really, really unconscious. Like everything in us is pretty much unconscious because it's all so complicated and complex. So it's a mistake to think we understand what we're doing all the time or at all, as we've made clear. And it's a mistake to think that we necessarily can know our own motivations. We need others around us to sort of mirror us, or else we're lost and we have no direction whatsoever. If we didn't have an environment around us, we'd have no way of knowing ourselves whatsoever because we're already so unconscious. Though, in some ways, when you realize that, that's when the process is done for you because you realize I am this thing that I can't be aware of. I am this thing. So why try to control it rather than letting it happen? And it's like you said, you pick up so much more information. In some ways, you can't even listen to people when you have thoughts going. How can you listen to somebody really? Listen to what they're really saying and have your thinking going at the same time, right? There starts to be an ability to actually listen. You don't understand what you're listening to, but you're listening. You're like a dog listening, right? You're like inert, not knowing what you're listening to, but you're listening to what's going on around you and absorbing it rather than fighting against it with these belief systems and thinking programs we have. If you have a thinking program going, someone says something and immediately you're translating it completely within that thought, and you can only see them through your projection.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we always had that to some extent, but you're going to have it to less of an extent the less beliefs you have. So I always tell people, clear all the beliefs out of your system because the beliefs are what program your mind and program your body to function a certain way. As soon as you stop needing to believe one thing or another, there's a natural sort of unconscious intelligence there that will immediately start organizing signals in a much more intelligent way. Sounds like bullshit, and it is bullshit as soon as I say it, but it should be recognized on some level as I say it also.
Yeah. And also one thing for others who might be experiencing this, like going through this, you have no way of knowing whether the information you're picking up on is true or how you know it, or how you are picking up upon it. You don't even know if it's true what you're picking up. All you can do is ever go with the moment and respond to whatever it is that is presenting itself in the manner that your perception is offering it to you. There's always going to be, I find also, there can always come a moment of doubt. How do I know that this is what is being picked up is true? Like the moment that comes in, that is just another stepping away from that which is unknown. And more often than not, if you trust information that is picked up in that state, in the long term you will see that it wasn't faulty. At least that's how I've experienced. It just takes a little bit of courage to take the leap of faith into not mistrusting whatever is picked up. Trusting your body, trusting your perceptions, trusting the intelligence that is within oneself.
Yeah. It's a very, like I said, everything in our whole mental apparatus is designed to defend against life. So as soon as that's gone, all of a sudden you're naked again. You're naked against all these signals which are bombarding you from every angle. And there's nobody in between you and that. And that's what people are defending against all the time, is defending against that state. And call it, I like the word the natural state, because when I say natural, I mean you're not at conflict with yourself. You're not trying to keep yourself from experiencing whatever you're experiencing. And what the ego is always doing is trying to keep us from experiencing whatever we're experiencing on its own value. Like right now, I look at you, I see you, I see everything around me. I have no concept whatsoever of what I'm looking at, right? I don't know that what I'm looking at is a computer screen or Raven or anything or any of this. It's only a slight little compartment in my head that's translating things that way. And even then, it's very discontinuous. So the mind gets created as soon as you introduce this concept again of needing to translate things in a certain way and needing to understand them and needing to have some sort of conceptual way of handling them. Otherwise, you're always just experiencing things through the senses. And that's what it really comes down to, is that we're defending all times against the experience our senses are having. And for some reason, nobody will just come out and say that. It's like when we're talking about the now, what we're talking about is our sensory experience, right? We're talking about what our senses are picking up. But all the time we're talking about it in abstract terms. I don't know why, and that makes me wonder, like, why can't we not just say it's what our organism senses are experiencing? Like, what else is there outside of that? And if you have some sort of experience other than that, the only way to remember it is through memory and concept within the sensory experience. So it's like, it's the thing we're always left with, is being these bodies in this world. And as soon as you stop having a need to get beyond that, then it becomes a very natural, peaceful, sort of lively thing for you. When the life becomes a home for you, then there's no problem anymore. All of our spiritual need of get beyond this life, I don't understand. Like, people all the time are saying to me, like, you're talking about alignment this way, but it's really the spirit rising above, blah blah blah. I don't even understand what they're saying, honestly. Like, if that's the world they're living in, fine, but it's not the world that I've ever known. And I've had all sorts of thousands and thousands of mystical experiences. Every mystical experience I've had contradicts every other one. There's always some sort of crazy psychedelic experience you have, and you come out with these concepts of it and all these things, but you always end up back in this base sensory experience you have. So what use are any of those experiences in the end? In the end, I had to throw out all my psychedelic experiences and throw out the illusion that I got anything from them. In the end, they just deranged me more than they did anything for me, because they just gave me all these different views of what I'm experiencing all the time. And that's useful in its own way, but it's very unuseful when you start getting the idea that that experience was somehow more real than what you're experiencing already. That's always the place we get tripped up, is when we have the idea that there's one state or another, which is the real state. As soon as you have that concept, it's going to bring you to pieces. I know that for a fact from experience. So that's why I say it's even dirty for me to talk about enlightenment, because the idea of an enlightened state is wrong. There's only the natural state of your body in any given moment. As soon as you have the idea that the body needs to be in one state or another, then you're going to be in for a fucking conflict with yourself again. You're going to be split against yourself, because you're going to be trying to force yourself into one state from a point where you aren't even, from a point which is only remembered through memory and concept. But as U.G. Krishnamurti said, not knowing is your natural state, right? When you don't know what the fuck you're doing, you don't know where the fuck you are, that's your natural state. That seems to be Raven and I's central point we keep coming back to.
Yeah. I must say I also prefer the word, though, you say the natural state. Even the being recognized it as being more natural than what it was used to. And I find the only thing that I can state is that being there feels the most natural, even though there's no one there to like comment on it that now I'm feeling natural, but it just feels natural. And when you get back into your mind, you realize that felt so natural. And it is basically just that. It's such a simple, natural state, yet overshadowed by something super complex and not natural.
Yeah, the body recognizes it as natural, right? Because it's like, this is what it's like before this conditioned trap is in me, like putting me at war with myself. And yeah, it's a spontaneous recognition, right? Like they say in Zen, it's spontaneous. You don't need to comment on it to recognize it. It's a recognition that's already there. Like, damn, I recognize this as me. I can't say how I can recognize it's me. It's just an innate, intuitive knowing without any need to think about it whatsoever. It feels natural because you're not against yourself. When I say natural, I say all the time, I mean when something's not at conflict with itself. But of course, even the conflict is born of the natural state. Like you said, when the mind is there, it's not even a problem for the natural being. It doesn't care. Only the ego cares about the ego. Only the mind cares about the mind. Only the mind goes, "Oh fuck, gotta get rid of myself," you know. I put the other day that what you are is never concerned, you know? The only thing that knows concern is mind. Your being is not concerned. What does your being have to be concerned about? It doesn't even really know that it's alive, really. It's just here. It needs a concept to be like, oh, I'm living or I'm dead. Otherwise, it's just here. And it doesn't need to be anyplace else. And that's why I say the idea of enlightenment is dirty in some ways, because it puts you at war with where you already are. And also the idea of some right place or right place to be, which is the foundation of all false morality, if we're going to put it in the terms of our podcast here. All false morality is the presupposition that there's some right way to be or right thing to do, and another wrong thing to do and wrong thing to be. And this will put you at war with yourself all the time. So I've said before that morality in some ways is the root of all evil, because it puts you at war with your natural being, which is there. You have some schema or idea that's put into you that it's wrong to behave a certain way. Well, what mechanism do you have to really make yourself not be that way? You'll find that all moral people will behave the way that they say they're not behaving. That's why you get priests who are diddling kids, because they have this morality in them, right? that they're saying you can't be this way whatsoever. You can't have sex whatsoever. And of course, in the background, in the shadows, they're doing these terrible things with children. And that's the way all moral people become, is because they need to have all this energy of presenting themselves in one way to the public that in private their shadow comes out. It's better to wear all of yourself at once, like to come out and be like, oh yeah, I am like a pot smoking loony who is raving just for my own entertainment. Yeah, I am that. And you'll find as soon as you say that, you come out and say that, you're suddenly, there's no problem anymore. The fact is, it's honesty, right? You need to have the honesty of being willing to be seen as all that you are. It's shadow and light together, and that's wholeness. Otherwise, you're divided down the middle, and you'll have to have some parts of you reserved for some times, and some parts of you reserved for other times. And the dark parts are going to get a lot darker, and the light parts are going to get a lot funnier. And that's the way that I see humanity going. Is all the people who come out in the robes like, oh, welcome children, welcome to me. Behind the scenes, you find out 50 years later they were having murders committed or whatever. That's the way it is. You get split down the middle. If you were just to come from a point of being like, yeah, I'm pretty shitty and I'm also pretty great in all these different ways, then what do you have to hide anymore? As soon as you have nothing to hide, then there's no impetus for you to be terrible. And as soon as you have nothing to be proud of, then there's no impetus for you to put on a front.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's all been said.
Oh, what did you say? It cut out for me.
It's all been said.
Yeah. It's all out there now, guys. It's all good and said. As soon as I put that essay out the other day, I'm like, now my fucking secret's out there, so might as well just say everything now. And that's freeing for me because, yeah, like I said, for a long time, I was trying to say certain things, and now it's like, I'm going to keep these things in the background for the right time, and I'm going to put the big shabam out there. Well, I don't have that anymore, so now I can just say whatever, and it's much better that way. And I only say this because it's all I have to say, and others are going to see their own scenarios in what I'm saying. And when they hear me, they go, oh, yeah, I do that in my own way. That's what I think my being is hoping anyways. And then so they go, oh, I see my scenario. And out of the honesty, whatever honesty I have here, they maybe see themselves and recognize where their roots of suffering are and clear themselves, because you really can be free from suffering in this lifetime. That's the truth of the Dharma. You can be free from being at conflict with yourself. It's true. It's true. And something in us doesn't want to give that game up. It's like, what is there left to do if I don't have my suffering? What game is there left for me to play? I want to hold on to it. I want to hold on to it because that's all I know. Well, I mean, that's your own karma, like they say, right? If you want to have your suffering, then you can certainly have it. That's part of your freedom, too. That's part of your freedom, too.
It's a very dry game to play, though.
It is. It starts to bore you.
Yeah, indeed.
I know, I played it a lot in my life. A lot. It's like the only way I know how to talk about any of these things is only from my own bad example. Hmm.
Mm.
Feel your silence, friend. Feels good.
I wish I had something to say, but no. I
Well, I
don't
mean,
even
if
wish
we're
I
out
had
of
some. Huh? I don't even wish that I had something to
no,
say,
you.
but
Well, that's the next step, right? If you don't even wish you had something to say, then man, you're in a good spot. Because there's often times we have nothing to say, and then the mind's there like, need something to say. What am I gonna keep my constipated fucking verbal diarrhea going? Like, what do I need to say? Where it's completely, you'll feel in yourself, right? There's this little part of you that's completely opposed to the silence. It wants to hang on. It wants to hang on, and it grips and grips. But if the silence swallows it, then you'll have nothing to say, and you also have no reason to say anything. And for me, because it's in my nature to be chatty, what will happen at that point is I'll start blathering like an idiot. Because when I talk, I'm not in control of my talking. I'm just talking, and it's what my being naturally wants to do. It wants to celebrate the fact that it's here. It's saying to everyone, "Be here, be here, be free because you can be." And then people are going, "Fuck you! I don't want to be free," all the time to me. And then I go in a corner and start smoking pot and lying around watching movies all day.
I can relate to that. Ah, it's so funny. Everything is so funny and weird.
It's like I was saying to you there's the other day. It's like there's this human machine that's been on the planet billions of years, and just now some process seems to be coming to the end where it's starting to go, "Fuck, I'm alive," and more than one person. It's starting to go, "Well, I've been here this whole time. I've been asleep, and I'm alive." And it's weird because when the process is ending, it's not only our own process, it's this whole process of history that's gone on for generations and generations, which is suddenly coming to an end in each one of us. And it's going, I'm here. And there was someone who talked about that at one point, I believe, in his own symbolic way. And, Christ or whatever. Christ said, when Christ said, you'd be back, to me, what that means is that in each one of us, there's some form of awareness which is trying to be born right now. And, that's a whole other thing. That's a symbolic thing, but it's really interesting to see that this really might be happening. People are really starting to wake up. It's just a fact of the matter. They're really starting. I've seen a lot of people more and more starting to wake up, and it's not just one or the other. It's not just me or just you. There's people all over the planet where this is starting to happen, and all the old systems are going to be fighting for control, and all these things are not controllable. It's already a process that's won on one level. But all of us who wake up are just play your part, speak the truth, be you, be the fullest you can be, because you're going to be ridiculed for that. Trust me, I get ridiculed all the time. but it's worth it because you're going to have people like Raven here, like my friend Raven here, or whoever else who's going to come to you and they're going to say, something you said made it click for me. And there's no more rewarding feeling than that whenever it does happen. When someone comes to you and they say, something you said really made it click for me. So all you can do is just own what you know to the best. Be truthful. The time is now for this because otherwise we wouldn't be here having this conversation. Things that you do that seem minuscule and small, they aren't so minuscule and small, and you'll find that. Like even Raven and I having this conversation, people reading my posts, whatever, that's really the birth of all changes in these little interactions. And it's only later that we go, oh, this great thing happened. Well, it wasn't that great in the moment it happened. There's only a few people there to know about it. So, so it's only as the fire spread, right, that these moments in history became great moments of change. Is only later on. In that moment, it was just like, oh, something's happening. So you never know when something you do is going to spark that fire in someone else. Never.
Yes. Indeed. Hmm. Feed the truth to break the loops.
Feed the truth to break the loops. In high school, I wrote this little note to myself. I said, I am a habit which is trying to break. So it turned out to be true. To my chagrin, it turned out to be true that I was a habit that was trying to break. And, you know, those of us who are destined for that explosion, there's no running from it.
No, you can run all you want. It's gonna grab you and just suck you in. Kicking and screaming.
And there's all of us go into it kicking and screaming, so don't be ashamed about that either.
No, I find that's like the most honest thing you can share with someone, is like telling them the truth is not the beautiful truth that you wish to find, but it's the absolute terror that you were running away from.
Yeah. And that's what I've really been trying to be honest with people about, breaking that cycle of people who go through this awakening and then make it out to be beatitude, bliss, infinite light, whatever bullshit you have. I say, no, it's the opposite. It's the absolute terror of being alive. The absolute terror that you are this living machine, human, hyper-intelligent organism. And you are that, and there's no running from that. You aren't this completely super personal force, whatever you call it. You are exactly what you feel that you are at all moments, but are running from, which is this body. And I know I get a lot of flack for saying that, but I'll keep saying it because it's the truth that I found, is that I am this body, right? That's the truth I found. That all that I can know myself as is this body. I don't know myself as anything else than that. And I don't even know myself as the body because I need a concept to know that. If I'm something beyond the body, I only know that through the body. Yeah. So how can I go beyond that? I am this organism, and it's so intelligent, so there's no need to be anything else other than what I am. We've constantly been degrading the human organism, degrading the body, saying it needs to be something else other than what it is. Like I said, that could be other people's realities. I don't know. It's never been the reality that I've experienced. And when I went through this death thing, there was no more doubt in me that I was this body, because when you go through this death thing, the fact that you are a living being will really fucking startle you, because you'll realize, fuck, I'm here, and you're all these bodily systems that were offline, you're going to start feeling them a lot more too. And it's a very crazy thing. It's very interesting also. In the long run, I think we'll all be glad for facing the terror early. I know I was.
Yeah. I think it's better to get it over with while you're still alive than wait until your deathbed where you have nowhere to run to. At least you can run a bit away a few times and then it catches up with you in life. It's a bit nicer.
Yeah, which makes me wonder with my whole theoretical thing about the mind being something which is inherited, right? What if the mind has gone through this human life all these times, right, in these different bodies, and it's gone to that point of death, and now it's coming to a point where it's like, all right, I'm just gonna get it over with this time. Like last time, like I waited till the last moment. Well, this time I'm just gonna get it over with and face it early because I've died enough times to just die now.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's where the theoretical stuff just gets fun. I really don't know about that, but it's one interesting way to look at it. And there's an infinite array of different ways to look at it because it's something that's indescribable, which is just being here, being alive.
Yeah. And in the end, you cannot make any. Like, one can theorize about all sorts of theories about what it is or what it could be, but it's just, in the end, it's just fairy tales, and unless it's becomes a valid experience, I guess.
And a lot of what we call experience only exists within the theoretical framework we have for it. That's one thing we discover, right? We think we have all these experiences, but it's only the way that you're looking at the experience is what you're experiencing. So I know I've had all sorts of crazy experiences that turned out to just be me forming crazy thoughts about it. It's sensory experience I didn't understand. It's like, oh, my body's going through something, and then I formed this crazy cosmology in my mind of like, this is happening or that's happening. And that happens when the ego is shutting down a lot, right? When the ego is going through this thing of shutting down, it will go, I'm dying. Or this has been my experience. Like, you'll go, I'm dying now. And you think the physical body's dying in that experience. Or it will go, I'm losing control, I'm going crazy. Like you said, it said, like, what about all the people I love? What if I leave them behind? You know, it forms all these narratives. But it's just the brain's way of misapprehending some sort of physical process it really doesn't understand. And so there's no way to avoid the anxiety, but you have to understand that none of what I found is that none of my thoughts have ever turned out to be true. All my thoughts have turned out to be lies. And when I understood that none of my thoughts are true, now when my thoughts come in and go, I'm dying, I go, well, the likelihood is that I'm going to come out of this alive, right? It was just this program shutting down. Such a look of emptiness and wholeness on your face, man. I love it. You're just like, I don't know what to say to this fucker. No, it's all right, man. Nobody dies, including me.
For once, I feel comfortable though here. I mean, here it feels comfortable not knowing what to say, I must say.
Well, that's the space I'm trying to provide people, you know? It's just like, you can be you, because I'm going to be me to my full, weird, fucked up level. And that the signal I'm really giving you is you can be you, but all of your mind programs are going to relate to that as an assault, you know? That's what I mean. Luckily for you, you don't really seem to have that many mind programs going, my friend. But a lot of people, the way they relate to me is like, this guy's assaulting all of my illusions. You know, he's coming at me. He's full of himself. He's arrogant. All these stories, all of them are only reflections of them, because none of the stories can stick to me. There's no mind here. There's no me here. There's only this form, whatever you want to call it, and whatever's talking through it. So call me what you like, you know? Call me what you like. That's my freedom to be whatever I like, is to be called what other people want to call me. And it's like you were saying in the thread the other day, like the experience of the self is completely not described by these ideals of kindness all the time or this all the time. All these things don't apply to being you. When you're you, no definition will stick to you. No definition whatsoever. The definition is a much slimmer compartment. So there's also an idea that someone who's awake is someone who's really humble, and we have the idea that being humble means putting your head down and not saying anything. And I'm telling you, that's completely the opposite of the truth, because when your mind shuts down, you're just going to express yourself whatever comes. You don't care. The self does not care if it appears egotistical. The self does not care if it appears narcissistic. The self doesn't care whatsoever. Why would the self care about that? It doesn't care about it. It's just here. It's at peace.
Yeah. It's just it reminds me of the story of the emperor wears no clothes. You become the child who states the obvious.
Mm.
Well, everyone pretends the emperor is full of clothes and is nicely dressed up.
Mm.
Bloody naked on stage.
Getting naked up here for all of you. The pig is naked and it's not wearing a tutu. And I posted once before, I think one of my favorite little allegorical posts I posted was a very dedicated monk once went to his master, Zen master blah blah, and sir, what is awakening and what is realization? And Zen master blah blah said, no, what is awakening and what is illusion? And Zen master blah blah said, illusion is wearing a suit for the office meeting, and awakening is realizing that everybody in the company and you is wearing only dirty underwear. Now stop calling me master.
I like that one. Awesome. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, so we're all in our dirty underwear, right? And for anyone to see that, we're all in dirty underwear, and the dirty underwear is the fact that we are what we say we are, no matter how we aren't what we say we are. No matter how much we pretend otherwise, we are just here, and everyone can see us for what we are if they were to just become what they are. And right, we're all in our underwear, man. We're all in our underwear. We're all up here on the stage. So I'm coming up here without even underwear, and I'm putting myself on the stage as an example for you fuckers. And I'm saying, hey, it's okay to be in your underwear. No one shot me yet. So don't be afraid.
Not yet.
Not yet. Well, the thing is, like I said, I was in jail once, right? I was in jail, and there's this big, like, burly black guy in jail, like I was in a little cell with, and he's really, tough, and like tough sort of guy you would imagine. And he looks at me and he's like, man, I'm afraid if I lick your skin, I'm going to start tripping. and he's like, it's you who I'm afraid of. He was afraid of me, not vice versa. That's the thing. And some other kid comes up to me, and he's like, you really can't be as kind to the people in here as you're being. You're going to get yourself in trouble. I'm like, I'm going to keep being kind and talking to them if I want to do that. And he's like, actually, I'm afraid of you. Like, that was his immediate response. Because there's no barrier there. I'm just am wherever I am, So I was, the whole time I was there, I had a great time.
Oh, that is awesome. Jail holidays.
So I mean, on the flip side, I really love your writings too, man. So, you ever think of writing a book or anything?
Or? I just let it come at the moment the way it's coming. I wrote one book which was just a collection of like old poems, but it's like a collection of older stuff. But I must say, since I've always written like I've always let what wants to come out. The book was always my own book was a tremendous help for myself, since looking back, I can see it's like almost the truth was already expressing through my own words, even though I was still searching for it outwardly. So whether I'm planning, if I do another book, I'm not sure.
As it comes, right?
As it comes.
We're doing music right now, though, right? Because I listened to some of that. It was good shit.
Yeah, you like it?
Yeah, man.
Uh,
It's just a natural process. All the creativity. It's interesting how creativity is just innate to us. But
yeah. By the way, if I have one tangent, we can go on to more into fairy tale land instead of nothingness. But it would be interesting to just share it with you because one part of your essay which did resonate quite a lot with me. But I like even you. I think even you wrote in your essay that is just a supposition or whatever. But it was the statement that ultimately we might actually be reality becoming real. That means I take it that you probably whether it's a
yeah,
singular
well,
reality.
that is what I quoted Alf on, right?
Yeah.
That reality actually might still be becoming real, and we as these selves might be kind of like like that's actually a big message in my book, Elephant Tusk, and I guess I let the baby out with the bathwater early, and it's out there with the essay now. But there's a lot of other things in the book. But that's one big thing that comes up in the book a lot is the idea that we may be actually processes of reality which fluctuate between degrees of unreality and reality, like a spectrum of reality which is becoming more real. And may that be also talk about for a bit, and then may a good place to leave this off on because I have to piss and shit, and then I'm sure we can do this again soon. Right? It was a lot of fun, but yeah. So the idea is basically that may reality itself is still in the process of becoming real. There's a Gnostic idea, which is that creation is a continuing process, that creation's unfinished. And this is based on a number of different experiences, really intense mystical experiences I've had, where all of a sudden, all the world around me became startlingly real in a way it never was before. And then I fluctuate back to other things. So, it's, like I said, it's a theoretical supposition, but it's just a way of also talking about my experience because it could also be literally true. I don't know. There's no way for me to know because if that's the process I am, I can't get outside of myself.
Yeah.
You know. Well, what was your impressions of that when you read that?
It just brought up one experience I've had myself, which is related to psychedelics, but since it involved another person who wasn't on psychedelics, did strike me. It did strike me in a certain sense. I can make a small resume. I was in the Netherlands and I was doing ayahuasca session with a shaman, and it was my first time ayahuasca. And during that session, I remember I saw my girlfriend, which is still my girlfriend now, but I didn't see her as in her. I didn't see a face. I didn't see a body, but I just saw. I can only describe it as I saw a being of light, but I knew it was her. In some sense, I just saw utter beauty. I cannot even describe it now. But when I saw that, I just wanted to share it with her, and I just knew she was in an apartment in Belgium somewhere. So I just visualized without thinking about what I'm doing. I just visualized like her room, and I knew like what time it is. So I was immediately in my visualization. I was like in a corner above her bed, and the only thing I did was like I just something within me wanted to like communicate what I saw, But what ended up happening in the end was like when I saw her about 3 days after, I stopped by in Belgium before coming back to my place, and I then asked her if she didn't experience anything on the night that I had that experience, and she immediately told me that she was already lying in bed, and she was still writing with a friend on, I think, on Facebook or whatever, on her phone, and in the same corner where I was seeing her room from, she just saw a manifestation of a ball of light which was like changing colors or something in that sense. And she just said that at some point she even thought of the thought that this was somehow me, like it was related to me. And then I shared to her my experience, like how I was perceiving things. And I find it stayed with me, like this whole thing, because it was my only mystical experience where I can say another person was part of it who was not even voluntarily part of it. And it came back to me the moment when you wrote when I read your essay afterwards, just thinking about the concept that you mentioned about reality becoming real with us, and also the potential that perhaps reality is not singular, but we each are a dimension of reality, and our becoming real is also manifests in the capacity of our capacity to interact on more dimensions with what is reality at the moment than what we've currently been used to. Although when I say all this stuff, I just want to, like, whoever's listening, I don't believe that it's worthwhile to now go and learn to meditate and sit down and try to beam your body somewhere else. I think that's pointless. Like, whatever happened in that moment for me, that wasn't none of it. What actually happened was my intention. So it was just an happening, and then. But it brings up that question for me, like, there's a possibility that maybe perhaps we are reality becoming real. Maybe we are singular reality becoming real, like as in every being is the same reality becoming real unto itself, or we are multiple realities, each becoming real in reality. I don't know, but yeah, I just want to
The other possibility is that we're multiple realities becoming real and becoming more one at the same time. And that's a more freaky thing. What if reality isn't, it never was one, it's plural, but it's moving towards some sort of thing where it can be more unified? I don't know. That's just another way of looking at it. And yes, so also that, all these possibilities open up. And so, yeah, looking at because I studied mystical experiences academically, like comparative religion. I did this study where I took like 300 mushroom experiences and looked for of different people and looked for commonalities and stuff. And something that really struck me is that nobody seems to be living, and we talk about this unified reality all the time, but we're all experiencing things very, very differently, right? That's something that really struck me with that study is, how can I say that we're in one reality when we all seem to be having the facts of human experience seem to say we're living in much different experiences. Like all of my studies of psychology and everything seem to point at that fact, that we're living in much different experiences of the world, right? And so it makes no sense for me to try to say, oh, make my experience your experience, but what I can do is try to go to the nature of your experience through the mind and try to get you to come to something which is authentically yours without trying to impose mine on you. But yeah, so the idea also that we could be reality becoming more real and more unified, who knows? Or at least unified in our individuality, which is the way I always talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And But if reality hasn't been quite real, let's just play with that idea for a lot of human history, then it would make sense that all these experiences we have disagree with each other because there would be nothing quite there solid. It'd be kind of like a dream, which is there. So we have all these different experiences that completely contradict each other. One person experiences that they're a ball of light, and one person experiences that there is no soul. They're completely contradicting, you know, assumptions. Or one person experiences all as one, and one person literally sees reality get blasted into a billion pieces. All these different plural things, all these things. Everyone has the fact is that people do have these different experiences. They have experiences which completely contradict each other. So all I can say from that is that either something is very misleading about our experiences, or maybe there is no thing there that we're experiencing quite yet. Maybe we are this process which is becoming solid. At the same time, creation's a continued process that, in the Gnostic way of putting it, spirit is becoming incarnated into matter. So it's one way of putting it, where this less solid, like I said, this is really like a main part of my book that I'm just letting out there with this essay, but whatever, is that there's this function of reality going from less solid to more solid, things becoming real, and the less defined becoming more definite. And even if that doesn't describe reality itself, I think it describes something within our experience that resonates with it, and that's why I talk about it. Oh. Hey, you want to call it a chat, my friend?
Yes, I think we can. I
I
think
feel like just as my essay leaves off on that point, it's kind of a interesting, trippy, nebulous place to leave.
yeah, plus I must say it's fun being able to express just what I expressed um, without receiving, without having the other person feel like I'm asking for for like a well-defined constructed answer.
Yeah, because I know that even my answers aren't well defined or constructed. So how can I expect that from another person? It's like I'm saying all the time on Facebook. I'm like, I'm spewing bullshit right at your face right now. I know it's bullshit, but it's my bullshit. But the thing is, I'm opening up a freedom of expression with that, and trying to say, don't worry about what you say, because I know that I'm not. I know that what I'm saying is not like high and well regarded and scientific or whatever you want to pretend your knowledge is. I know that what I'm saying isn't that. All I can do is express whatever I'm expressing and express my own experience. I have no knowledge of a world outside my experience, so why would I put those standards on anybody?
Yeah. Ah, it was good.
Is our stream still going? Or?
Yes, our stream is still going. We had someone drop into the stream. Maybe you know him. Oh man, what kind of name is that? IDK LOL Enjoy. Was it? Oh.
Sounds like a good summary. We're just going to use your name as a summary. IDK, I don't know. LOL, laugh out loud, enjoy.
They typed something in chat, but it makes no sense. I guess they got it. Weird. It says, can you search up star star star, and then it says star star star, no period at the end after the comma, even though there's there's no comma in whatever he wrote before that. Please, llama, basically literally a llama, and then gnome. So
Makes plenty of sense to me. Just as much sense as any of my other thoughts. It's like, oh yes, llama gnome, star star 8. It's all just strings, digit symbols.
yeah. But that's it. That's we didn't have anyone else, I think, chat anything. No one asked a question. No. Yeah, that's it. Was awesome, mate. It was really cool.
It was really fun, man. We should do it again.
Yeah, definitely. I'm all up for it.
I definitely feel like there's definitely a piece. I can feel your piece and my piece, so that's a good sign.
Infusing the virtual reality world with a little bit of silence and peace.
Yeah, which in some way seems to make it more real. Which is my weird claim. Have you ever read Philip K. Dick?
Philip K. Dick. I think
He's one of my favorite.
I haven't read any of his books, like a book per se, but I've read I think extracts from his work and short writings, or if that is, yeah. And from you and Steve B. I think I've seen the most Philip K. Dick quotes from you guys. I still have to get a hold of a book. Would you recommend any book specifically, like from all his works?
Well, the one I was just gonna pair it off of was it's called Ubik. It's Ubik, and that's a good one. Valis is my favorite. Valis is Valis.
Okay. Cool. I'll remember those.
So can you send me the link to this so I can post it?
Yeah, sure thing. I can also.
Is it just gonna be the same link it live streamed at, or?
You'll be able to find it through it if it's not the same link. Like on Twitch, it's not gonna be the same link. It's gonna have its own link.
Just send me the YouTube link after.
Okay. If you want, I can even upload the video on a site where you can download it, so you can like post it.
Upload it. Yeah, that'd be good. I'll upload it to my YouTube.
Okay.
Alright, that was awesome, man. I love you, brother. That was fun.
Same, man.
I really
love
need,
you, bro.
I need piss. I need piss like a racehorse. Alright, man. Let's talk again soon.
Yeah, definitely.
Peace, bro.
Peace.